Heyo.
Hello.
Hi.
And fuck you.
And fuck a movie.
And
Fuck
a
everybody.
movie. And a movie. Yeah.
In a movie.
A lot of fucking. Especially in this week's episode.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. You can't. You got to give it that.
Yeah.
All kinds of aggressively, basically pornographic fucking.
Oh, it's not pornographic. It's been a while since you've seen a
soft
porno.
core.
No, I'm just saying it's essentially like literally if the
I think
camera
it's
was
artfully
moved.
done.
No, it's very artfully done.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if the camera were moved, 30 degrees,
You're gonna
a
see
foot.
some buttholes.
It's pretty much porn. But again,
that's
super
for
tastefully
that's
done.
for later in the show.
Yeah, that's coming soon.
For now, we have an order to things, and we always start with intros. So,
Yeah.
to my left, the man who watched everything, Mr. Reese Anweiler.
Still trying.
Still trying.
They
One
just
day at a
keep
time,
coming out
man.
with more.
One day at a time.
To my right, he's too old to be cool. And
I
he wants
am-
his fucking Toxic Avenger movie.
I do.
Yeah.
John Brown.
I am a persnickety bastard, and I will be super persnickety about that Toxic Avenger movie.
We're gonna have to do a new weekly segment of updates
Right.
on the Toxic Avenger.
when is
movie.
this fucking happening?
That could be a separate podcast.
Come on, Lloyd Kaufman. What the fuck are you doing?
Just call it fuck trauma. You can call me the conductor. I'm gonna aim to keep the trains on the tracks.
The
today.
maestro.
The maestro. So,
All right.
guys, it's been a couple weeks since we've been together.
Hells yeah.
It's a lie.
Yeah.
What have you guys been watching?
You want to go, Reese? Or you probably have more than I do.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll go this
Okay.
time. I
New
didn't watch.
medication has made me sleepy lately, so.
What happened? Oh,
New medication.
it's new medication.
Yeah. Made me sleepy.
So I guess it feels like we really would have talked about Furiosa in the last episode, but I guess it's just been a long.
No.
We did not.
Yeah,
No.
no, we did not.
Yeah. So I got to see Furiosa opening night in IMAX. It was visually stunning. Which of you have seen it now? Now you had the kerfuffle with
I
Garfield.
had the Garfield
John,
kerfuffle.
I'd like you to take a
So
few minutes to
shit.
talk about your experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very excited. It was going to be it was Alicia's birthday actually too.
Ooh.
So we even went to the theater for her birthday to watch fucking Furiosa.
Ugh,
Get the
So
tickets, go to
tragic.
the theater. The tickets say to go to, hang out. And there are some signs. All right, there may have been some signs, but we weren't the only ones that got bamboozled here.
yeah.
But it started about 10 minutes late, which I was like, yeah, a smaller local theater. Like maybe they're just running behind. It's a bunch of teenagers out there and like one like middle-aged woman like running this joint, so I could see it just
Yeah.
you're running late. Sure enough, ran super late. Sit through all the previews, which there were a couple that were like kid movie previews, but sometimes they get mixed up, so I still didn't think too much. And then as soon as the movie started, it was some like bouncy, jolly music, and I'm just like, all right, the fuck.
I sure do love lasagna.
Yeah. Like, what is this? You see the other handful of people in the theater just like look at themselves too and just like get up and walk out. So yeah, I was denied Furiosa.
So
Ugh.
from what I understand, the wrong theater number.
You were in the
was
wrong-
Yeah,
Okay.
on the ticket. Yeah, and there's no
So
posters
what
in the theater
movie did you
anymore, and there's
walk
no
into?
names. Garfield.
Garfield.
Garfield?
Yeah, he was Garfield.
And
Yeah.
so because
We
of
left
the
quickly.
delay in waiting for the movie to
Yeah,
start
it was
and
like
the
45
previews,
minutes
yeah.
in, so there's no
Ugh.
point in watching it.
That just
At least
that
they
would
did compass
that would
tickets,
just-
so Alicia and the boys went and watched it and enjoyed it thoroughly.
Okay,
but like
good.
that was like my one shot deal.
Yeah.
Maybe go see it. So.
No, I assume they had seen Fury Road.
Yeah, we watched it just a little bit before because this was coming out. I wanted them to see it, and none of them had seen any Mad Max stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're way behind.
yeah, but KO did point out to me that Amazing World of Gumball did a Mad Max
Oh,
Fury
yeah.
Road episode. Like did a fucking homage to it, so that was pretty cool.
That's fun. But yeah, it took, I'd say, about 30 to 45 minutes for me to like click over to like, this is not a Mad Max movie. Like this, there's a lot more character development, a lot more backstory than
I felt
any
like
other
that's.
Mad Max
I
movie.
felt like that's what it would be.
And
I felt like there was more story overall.
yeah. I mean,
a little down on the action, a little up on the story, which is kind of what I wanted.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
what I
if
expected.
you do a detailed plot synopsis of Fury Road, you could get it down to like a paragraph. Whereas this, it's about an equal amount of story to Fury Road in about every 30 minutes of the movie. So
Right.
it's you can't really remake Fury Road because it's such kind of like a 1 in a million, just perfect
It is,
success.
and I actually really appreciate what he did with Fury Road to restart the franchise because he just like fucking like threw it. He just threw a grenade out there, like, boom, this is happening now. And, like, now you can, like, the dust can settle.
I got money now.
Yeah. And he can tell more of the story the way that he probably wanted to.
And
so.
the world building they do get into is fucking awesome. And all of, like, it's like, I guess I never really thought, like, I wouldn't mind seeing more of Immortan Joe on screen and stuff. And then he's, like, on screen, like, fuck. He's, like, a pretty badass villain, you know?
Nice. Yeah, because you don't get that much of him in Fury Road, really.
No.
Like, you get, like... a promise that he is some kind of villain, but you only see him just kind of be a creep.
Yeah.
He's very creepy now.
Yeah, he's super creepy. I mean, even just like subtly because of how he looks and acts, but then you're also remembering that like Furiosa stealing away all of his like bride prisoners
his
that
cattle,
he's breeding.
Basically,
like,
his breed
He's
wives.
a very disgusting person, but I think people get a little too anti. Now, admittedly, Hollywood has done a lot to hurt the reputation of prequels.
Right.
But I do think people are too critical of the idea of a prequel because like this and Rogue One are and there's a few others, but those are like the two big ones that stand out. It's like the perfect idea of a prequel. It's like it's just more of the world. It's not you're not needing to go like, well, wait a minute now. How did she get that knife? That's not the point of Furiosa. Sure. And like those events happen. Like, oh look, now she's got her arm, and oh, I recognize the shotgun. Those things happen, but that's not the point of the movie. Right. It's just like a world building, like really and you have seen it, right?
I have seen it. Yeah.
I really loved a lot of the, especially set building and map painting and stuff. I felt like it felt very doable and grounded. Like it felt like they were trying to make it in such a way that's like, well, if we had the budget, we could have done this in the 80s. Right. But we're just doing it now because we have the budget, and I really appreciated that. It's fucking just a great time.
I mean, they definitely have done their due diligence with the franchise as far as effects and building everything.
I'm just gonna put in my 2 cents now because this is on my list, and I don't have to revisit it later. I don't even know how to say this correctly. I guess I'm slightly disappointed with Furiosa. Like, it's a good movie, and it's like you can put it side by side up against Fury Road and say that it's equal. But the fact is, I've already seen Fury Road, and so this just seemed like another installment of Fury Road.
Okay.
And
so
it's only one watch. Maybe after a second watch, I feel a little bit differently. But to me, I don't really think it did enough to separate itself. That being said, it sounds like I'm shitting on it a little bit. Like, it's a really good movie. It's a really good movie. I guess I just expected a little bit more.
So you know how it is. You wasn't enough world building, or enough.
It's just you have expectations. Yeah. Like you build expectations, and to me, the movie just fell like while it was really good, it just fell a little bit short of the expectations that I had, probably unfairly put on it going into it.
Yeah, I mean that tracks with the experience that Fury Road is, and that's what would make like the making of Fury Road. If you had this planned to do, big fucking blowout initial film and then kind of backtrack and then presumably jump forward later. It's a hard thing to handle. It's a little bold, I'd say, for it to know that it's gonna work, because I think that what your experience is like the risk of doing that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I guess when you compare it to Rogue One, which I guess is a popular thing to do.
that's like my favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
It's like the last
I know
one
that.
gave any degree of a shit about it.
And I kind of feel the same way about Rogue One, right? So I love Rogue One. I think it's really good. I think it's arguably the best Star Wars movie. But like, it kind of suffers in the same way. Is it
Right.
like, if I know where you're coming from and I know where you're going, how can you keep me?
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
And that's
You need a
kinda-
certain level of
This
pizzazz.
movie kind of has that same thing,
Right.
to where I know that while I love Rogue One, I know that the average person loves Rogue One way more than I do.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm aware of that, and I feel like probably the same reason that I'm a little lower on Rogue One than everybody is probably the same reason I'm a little lower on Furiosa
Right.
than everyone. It's just like, I know where you started and I know where you're going, so you really have to do a little extra
Yeah.
Yeah.
to prove to me that this isn't just a filler money grab movie.
Right. Well, what made me, and this is now following a little bit of a tangent, but for Rogue One's sake, what made me appreciate it more was it was less of the thing that has become like oppressively tedious in Star Wars. Like Rogue One wasn't Space Knights, so like Rogue One at least separated itself from like the rest of the Star Wars film universe.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And like
Rogue One gave us the Andor character, which I think is like priceless, because
Yeah.
I actually think that my favorite Star Wars universe thing is the Andor series.
Yeah, that's pretty fantastic.
I think that's the best Star Wars thing I've ever seen, is the Andor series. And
And
like,
it's-
so I kind of give extra brownie points to Rogue One for introducing that character,
Right.
And actually there were several characters introduced there that appear in like some of the Disney Plus
Right.
worlds and stuff. Whereas like, I feel like Furiosa, give me like a couple new characters, but for the most part, I feel like the fact that there's such there's not really a time jump between Furiosa and Fury Road, whereas like Rogue One, there's more of a time jump between those events and what happens next.
I mean, not during actually now. Rogue
but-
One, you go to the ship and there's Darth Vader.
Yeah, Rogue One
It
ends
literally is
right
the
where A
opening
New
scene
Hope
in New Hope. Yeah.
starts.
Right. But I guess what I'm saying is the meat of the action,
Sure.
Yeah.
like and the characters. Like I'm getting. I don't have that Endor character from Furiosa.
yeah.
What I have is Furiosa herself, who I already knew
Right.
from Fury
So
Road.
the thing that I would hope, since we're making the comparison to Rogue One, going back to the thing that I liked about Rogue One, is that it was so much less of a Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was still like Star Wars through and through. He was telling the story of this empire, but it like cut out the fatty portion
yeah,
and the whimsical portion of the story and just the human portion. So what I would hope from my viewing of Furiosa, I would hope it would be a lot more world building and less of like the Mad Max thing, in the same way that Rogue One took out the Star Wars thing. That would be my hope. So if they didn't do that, that might leave a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth too.
and that's and again, bad taste in my mouth, kind of the wrong.
Right.
Because I did enjoy the movie. I thought it was good. I was
Yeah.
entertained. I don't think you get that
Yeah.
to that extent. I think that what you get is a little bit more of what you got from Fury Road,
Right.
with a little bit more story and enough action that if you were into Fury Road just for the action, you're going to be
Right.
satisfied.
Yeah.
Like they tried to satisfy everybody a little bit too much.
I could see that.
The Chris Hemsworth character is really the only new notable character, I think.
I mean, that's the one issue with prequel, or the biggest issue with prequels, is that like if you introduce new characters, they're either going to disappear
Yeah.
or die because they're not
Yeah.
in the next movie.
And can
you know?
just fuck
Yeah.
up your timeline for people that are nitpicky to then shit on
Yeah.
your movie too. you know,
Yeah.
so Like the introduction of too many new elements is definitely hazardous for the sake of that kind of film.
I do find that to be an interesting comparable, though, that we're comparing Furiosa to Rogue One, but that's actually, I mean, I think it's the perfect comparison.
Yeah.
And again, I want to go back to the beginning. I really actually enjoyed Furiosa. I think you should go see it. Especially if you love Fury Road.
I would imagine that it probably does get better with a rewatch, because I will say, just when we watched Fury Road for the first time together, I was like, I had some notes, but then like I rewatched it with the family, and I'm just like, there are no notes.
Yeah,
fuck notes.
And I'll say, I think I was higher on Furiosa coming out of the theater than what I was the next day once I had a chance to sleep on it.
Yeah, I gotta ruminate.
And it just like, what did it give me? What did it give me that I didn't already have?
Right.
And the answer is, it didn't really give me a whole lot. It gave me another movie to watch.
Well, that's I really hope for a lot
gives me
more.
A lot of the same concepts,
right.
you know.
I did hope for a lot of world building out of it myself. So.
There's a lot of world building. I mean, in Fury Road,
there is an actual paved road.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Which throws me off because where'd it go?
Hey, there'd be bound to be a few left, you know.
They also at the beginning of the movie show like zooming in on the Earth, and they are on like Australia.
Yeah,
which just made me go, so why don't they go to the ocean?
Yeah,
why are they staying in the desert?
Right. Yeah, they clearly have a bunch of mechanical shit. You can't tell me they can't recover a boat somewhere. Yeah. Now so with Mad Max, I actually pegged it more, and of course it's in Australia because it's, Australian, but from the setup of the bad guy characters and like what little bits of world building they gave you in Fury Road, I was like kind of pegging it to be like in Europe.
Yeah.
As like these guys be the heads of fucking like mafia and banks and shit.
Yeah.
That have set up that have like ruined the world and then grabbed the reins. So yeah, it's kind of.
Also, I'd like to say Australia's got it made when it comes to like post-apocalyptic shit, which I think technically all the Mad Max movies are.
Yeah. Well, the original I think is more of a dystopia.
It's dystopia. Yeah.
It's a dystopia leading to the.
Which I put those. I cluster those together. But yeah, definitely more of a dystopian thing, and like I think
the thing leading to the apocalypse.
I think that if your thing is set in Australia, it's very easy to just pretend that the rest of the world doesn't exist because it doesn't.
Yeah.
I watched a more recent like post-apocalyptic thing with Guy Pearce from like, I don't know, 2010 to 14.
Was it Ravenous?
No, it was in Australia, and it was just like
it wasn't the Rover.
Maybe it wasn't the world was like blown up or anything. It's just like everybody ran out of shit, and like money's junk, and like the economically just fell apart. But again, it still just worked because like you just go to a shitty part of Australia and film over here.
For all we know, Mad Max actually takes place in the past or yesterday. But I think the world building is really cool. There's some amazing visuals.
I'm sure.
There is Chris Hemsworth is like the leader of an army of motorcyclists, and he's got like literally hundreds of motorcyclists under his command, and like he commands them in like a chariot motorcycle.
Oh yeah,
there's some fucking awesome visuals.
The chariot is like my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah,
like, it's so good.
He rides in a chariot that is drawn by two motorcycles.
And he's got like little like controls
he steers the motorcycles with like a
for sure, of course,
whatever you call it,
like lassos. Or whatever.
It doesn't make any sense, but it looks awesome.
Hey, you know what? It's all right.
It's really, and I also want to say the makeup job they did on Chris Hemsworth. If I didn't know and it hadn't been pounded in my head with the countless trailers that it was Chris Hemsworth, I would not have known.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look anything like Chris
Hemsworth.
Or
if you weren't that familiar with Chris Hemsworth, I think you definitely assume his nose is real because it looks fantastic, but it's definitely not his real nose.
Yeah, and also props to him as an actor because I really thought his voice is what threw me off more than the makeup. I mean, his voice was not Thor, it was a very different voice that I've never heard from Chris Hemsworth. So that part was cool. He transformed himself into an entirely different person. That was very cool.
Yeah. Then I had a night to myself. I wanted to watch something pretty, so I was looking at the 4K Blu-rays I have that I
Yeah.
haven't watched yet, and Raging Bull was pretty high on the list.
Oh god.
And I did go ahead and watch it, much to Dustin's chagrin.
It's cool. I actually am just happy that you've seen that movie.
Yeah, it was really, really good. It's not high on my list of Scorsese movies, but I did. I mean, it's still a
actually
Scorsese
think
movie.
It's like his top 3 easy.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. It was gorgeous. I really liked the. I know it's like sometimes it can be rote, but I really like the clips with the family videos and stuff. I thought they were done so well. Next thing I watched was My Girl. Just because like
Macaulay Culkin. And,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm just tired of hearing people reference it and not knowing anything about it besides like all of the spoilers.
I can remember nothing about it other than Macaulay Culkin happened to be in the film.
bees.
He dies. He
dies.
gets stung by a
His
bunch of bees.
Oh, that's the movie. Okay. Yeah.
And we're supposed to be sad.
It just felt the whole movie felt
Dan
very
Aykroyd's
pointless to me.
Yeah,
Jamie
I
Lee
don't-
Curtis is in it too.
I don't remember it being anything
Oh.
super memorable.
Well, yeah,
of
Jimmy Lee
course.
Curtis was like the dad's side piece or something.
Yeah,
right?
his new girlfriend.
Yeah.
His wife's been dead since childbirth. Forgettable, of course. I went to theaters and I saw the new A24 indie drama thing. It's really hard to give it a good genre without leading you astray because it is listed as a horror movie, but I think that's kind of misleading. It's called I Saw the TV Glow.
Okay.
It's really good.
Interesting.
It's really.
I'd
good.
probably watch it just based
A20. You had me at A24.
Yeah, the cast isn't like anyone huge you'll recognize. It's led by Justice Smith, if you know him. He was in the D&D movie. This here,
on which character?
the wizard. in
Oh
the
yeah, the
D&D
wizard.
movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Super Lynchian inspired, obviously. The main characters are like obsessed with a TV show that feels like a cross between something like Are You Afraid of the Dark and
Okay.
like Twin Peaks.
Right.
It's just super vibey. The music is great. Just doesn't hold your hand at all. You know, it's just a ride of a movie. The last 40 minutes, I feel like, of the movie is just like one continuous scene.
Nice.
Super good. Highly recommend. I had to go see it at the Cinema Center in Fort Wayne, so it's probably not going to play in any bigger theaters than that, but it should be on streaming here pretty soon.
Sweet.
I watched The Girl Next Door, which was fine.
Is that the Alicia Cuthbert
Yeah.
girl next door?
Yeah.
Dude,
It was
all
so
right.
long. It's like 2 hours long.
It is longer than like your typical like teen
Sex comedy,
which
yeah.
is what it is. It's like the teen sex comedy. I do want to take a moment here to appreciate Alicia Cuthbert in this movie.
Yeah.
Damn. Damn.
They could have easily cut like 30 minutes off of this movie. It was so drawn out and like just kept throwing new plot points in the mix and like.
Also, aside from just Alicia Cuthbert looking really sexy in this movie, there is actually a cinematic thing that I can point out, which is what's his name? Timothy Oliphant.
Oh,
Yeah,
Timothy Oliphant is hilarious in this movie. His character is awesome.
His character, the main character in him needed to be like the whole movie.
No, yeah. Yes. Some of their points together, where you don't really know if, like, is he actually just a cool dude who's like hanging out with a fucking teenager, or does he have ulterior motives? You know? Timothy Oliphant.
A lot of people in this. There's Emile Hirsch, Timothy Oliphant, Paul Dano is in it.
Yep. He's got a really big dick in the movie.
Yeah,
Apparently.
it's a hilarious.
Spoilers.
Not
Sorry,
confirmed.
that's a huge spoiler.
It is literally a spoiler. That's
you
like the
don't
last shot of the movie.
You don't find out until the end.
Oh, they did a Mark Wahlberg. They did a fucking.
Yeah, they don't actually show it.
They don't show it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fine. Then I watched. Okay, so there is Letterboxd keeps stats on like how many people have watched movies, of course, and so there is a list of every movie on Letterboxd that's been viewed by over 1 million people. It's only about like 150 movies. It's not much. But I've seen almost every single movie on the list just because like they're all popular movies.
Right.
you know?
Right.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But a couple have been showing up lately that I have not watched yet. So I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and watch them so I can keep.
You are the man that watched everything.
I have to watch everything. So
Yeah.
a few of the ones that have come up recently I have not watched yet are the new Hunger Games movie is on there. Anatomy of a Fall, which was like the one Best Picture nominee I didn't watch last year.
Mm.
The Maze Runner is on there, so I'm going to start that franchise. And then Wonka is on there. So I did watch Wonka finally. And it was...
I bet that was bad.
You know, it wasn't that bad. It was just so, like, uninteresting. I was, just constantly like, why? Why? Who is this for? Who wanted this?
Right. Why am I still sitting here?
Like...
John, have you seen the Maze Runner series? Have you seen that?
I think what was the first film?
I think the first one's just called Maze
Maze
Runner.
Runner.
And then it's like
No,
Maze
no,
Runner,
no,
the
no,
Death
I'm-
Cure.
I'm mixing it up with
Hunger Games?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is basically a fucking.
Yeah, I mean, the Maze Runner wouldn't have gotten made if the Hunger Games
it's
hadn't
the same
exploded.
thing. No, I didn't see the Maze Runner. I only saw the first Hunger Games, I think.
I would call that a Maze Runner. I call it a guilty pleasure.
Oh, yeah?
It's John Brown. You might not.
What do you got?
You could potentially like this movie for the same reason that you thought that you liked The Village the first go around, because the concept is like fucking killer.
Sure. And it's dystopian, so
It is dystopian.
I'll get down and watch about anything dystopian. I got tired of I didn't continue with the Hunger Games because I love dystopian shit, but I hate teeny shit. You know, like teenage stuff. Unless it's done really well. Like if
the
there's
Hunger
too
Games.
much time spent on relationships in teens, while the world's on fire, I get annoyed. I know that you feel all this a lot because you're a teenager, but literally the world's on fire, so shut the fuck up. But I'll always give any dystopian thing a chance.
So Maze Runner, it's kind of a cool concept. Like basically all these teenagers get abducted, and it doesn't happen all at once. It starts with the main character gets abducted and wakes up in a box, and the box is like an elevator that takes him up. And basically he's in this yard full of a bunch of other teenagers that have also previously been abducted. But he's new, and all the other people have been here for a while. And basically they're in a giant courtyard that's surrounded by a maze.
Right.
There's only one entrance into the maze, and everything otherwise they're in a cube of outdoor world with,
Right.
And so the maze, there's one entrance into the maze, but the maze actually moves throughout the day.
Okay.
And so
maybe I did see one of these.
So the reason they call it Maze Runner is because there are people,
they're mapping it as they go.
Yes, basically they know they have so many minutes here in this part of the day where they can run in and get info and then run back out.
No, I think I did watch the first one.
Yeah, and so it's an interesting concept.
It's got some actors in it I really like. So
yeah, and a lot of them that weren't really well known at the time that have kind of come to the forefront since. So that's always interesting.
Yeah,
the kid who sprinkles glitter in the
Love
Christmas
Actually.
movie in Love Actually.
Yeah, he was in there.
Yeah, he's one of the main characters.
Nice. The glitter that is still one of the most ridiculous.
It's a better movie than that.
Fucking things I've ever seen.
Yeah, I missed that one. I didn't know. I didn't know that. Seen that movie so many times and never
There's
noticed
something
that glitter
not
spread.
right.
Yeah, it was a little down.
This scene is not good enough.
what if we go back and watch it now and the glitter's not there?
Right. What? It's a
But I guess what I want to
miracle.
say is it's not it's not going to be
it's
a work of art.
with the best picture winner or
It is what
anything.
it is, yeah.
I don't think
cool
that
things.
if your goal is to finish this list, I think there's probably going to be worse things on there for you to watch than the Maze Runner trilogy or whatever.
Right now, it's so let me see how many movies it is. I can't see the list right now. But the only movies on it right now I have not seen are Maze Runner, Anatomy of a Fall, the new Hunger Games movie, and then The Godfather Part 2. That's it. So I assume The Godfather will be the worst.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm sure that's true. Yeah, it's actually probably the greatest movie ever made.
Actually,
Yeah, yeah. It'll probably suck for you, but like it's the greatest movie ever made.
no, I'm gonna. I know I'm gonna. Oh, it's 343 movies are currently on the 1 million watch
Okay.
club.
Oh my God, you got a bigger list than you thought.
I only have 4 to watch though.
Out of 300 and some,
Yeah.
you checked them all.
Well, most of them, like I said, I've watched before they were on the list.
Yeah.
Like, here's some recent joiners are.
I don't need you to name all 300.
Well, I'm going to. I'm going to. Challengers, Brokeback Mountain, Shrek the Third.
I haven't seen that.
All About Time, Cruella, Matilda. Right. So it's not really anything to do with the quality of the movie. It's just
the
kind of the popular.
fact
Just
that people
people
watched
have
a
seen it
bunch
a lot
of
of
it.
time.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that About Time is on the list.
Yeah, I didn't think that was that big of a movie.
I thought when I was watching that, I was watching like a niche film.
Right.
Apparently not. I enjoyed that film.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else you got?
Wonka is bad.
Bad.
I bet.
I think I got literally. Really, just as soon as he started singing, I was out. Like,
yeah,
on the
I think he
boat.
sings like in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, the first 30 seconds. I'm just like, nope.
I'm
gone.
kind of just.
I'm glad I didn't see it in theaters.
I'm just kind of out on all that. Like I don't really like or appreciate Wonka in any way. Any of the movies.
No.
I always thought as a kid that the original was overrated. I actually think the best Wonka representation I've ever seen was the Futurama episode where they did Wonka. I thought that was the best Wonka thing I've ever seen.
I've got a spot in my heart for the original film. There's a lot of shit in the film that's overrated, but
Gene Wilder is just awesome.
Wilder's
Yeah, the original is
portrayal of
great.
Wonka was fantastic, and the idea that he embodied.
I don't like that Richard Pryor
having
wasn't in it.
Ideas and just being like fucking creative and imaginative. I think was cool, but again, it's like more concept than like real filmmaking. I could easily concede. So, but yeah, no, Wonka's like fucking whatever. And dude, a musical has to be like amazing.
And there is a
to be
ton
able to
of
sit
singing.
through.
You
Oh,
know,
I'm
like
sure, yeah.
some people might call the original Willy Wonka a musical, but there's like what?
No, there's like
less
a couple
than 10
numbers.
songs?
Yeah, no, yeah.
There's probably like 5, right?
Yeah.
This one's probably a song between every
I mean,
5 to
yeah,
10
it
minutes.
was like 30 seconds. Like it
Yeah.
introduced the character, then he started singing, and I'm like, nope.
Yeah, and on top of that, this thing is like
And I will watch a musical
It's
too.
2
I will
hours
sit
long.
Through a musical. My mom and my sister like beat me down with musicals when I was young, so I can sit through a musical if it's good. But like,
Yeah.
it's got to be good. Like the last one I thought that was worth sitting through that I saw was Sweeney Todd.
yeah.
Sweeney
I
Todd
like
was pretty
musicals.
good.
I love La La Land. I thought La La
Yeah,
Land was
yeah, but again,
exceptional.
La La Land has like 5 musical numbers.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
No,
Yeah.
when you have like a good one has
I thought it had the right
some,
amount.
a good amount of numbers.
I'm not.
five or so.
No points against or for it. It's just like this is like too much.
Yeah, it's just singing.
And it's like I don't know. Though I don't understand because it feels like it's cashing in on the nostalgia of the original one,
Right.
but it kind of has the aesthetic of the Johnny Depp one. And it's so
Right.
confusing. Like which
Yeah,
one are you
no,
going for?
I
here?
kind of got that from what I saw of it, and that's what immediately made me just like not want to watch it
Yeah,
because it's also just too much, man. Like it's all too much. Just let it go.
yeah.
Let that world
Oh,
and
they
character die.
There will be at least 30 more movies.
Yeah, I mean, this made a
There'll
lot
be
of
at
money.
least a
so.
couple probably.
It's the probably the most tragic thing is that it's Timothy Chalamet, and I do really like him and think he's a good actor. And like, this is a disappointing pick for him. Like, come on.
Is this supposed to be like a prequel? Or-
Yeah, it's like how Willie got his monk. how Willie got the chocolate factory.
How really got monked.
how Willie got his groove back.
Yeah, I mean, talk about prequels. This is the kind of prequel that everyone. I don't understand why it made so much money because it seems like everyone hates these kind of prequels of like, well, wait a minute, but where did he get the idea for Gobstoppers?
Yeah,
Like,
it's just cash in, man.
Yeah.
That's what so much of this pop culture filmmaking is now is just cash grabs. Like you have a guarantee that it's going to make money because people, even though they're probably going to bitch about it, same thing with Marvel. Like people are going to piss and moan and bitch like, oh, another fucking whatever movie, but you know they're going to like go see it. Like anybody, when you make a remake, you know people are going to watch it, even
Yeah.
if they don't think they're going to like it. They're probably going to go watch it.
yeah, so they can be pissed off about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And then
Oh,
they
how
bitch
is
on
this
the
movie
internet.
making money?
But they still got their money, so the world keeps spinning.
And then there's a certain kind of bad movie or not just bad movie, they can also be mediocre, where like something about it sparks your interest when it came out, and then maybe it like got a bunch of bad criticisms, or it wasn't easy to watch or anything, so it kind of fell off your radar for a bit. But there's always just like this, like a little bit of curiosity. You're gonna watch it someday.
For sure.
I have one of those on my list. This week that was one of those. I've been putting it off forever and ever and ever because I have talked to 0 people who liked it, and like I wanted to see it since I saw the trailer, and then I got to watch it and also be disappointed along with everybody else.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter how much warning you get, you're still like, oh man. So I did go ahead and watch the Adam Sandler movie Pixels.
Yeah.
And it's bad. It's very bad.
Is it better or worse than the one where he plays his sister?
I've never seen that one, and I have no interest in seeing that one.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Jack and Jill.
No, he does a total like Eddie Murphy thing where he plays like all the characters, you know, like
like that thing should have died a long time ago, and only certain people.
The Tyler Perry thing. Like, I'm not in for any movie where the dude plays all the characters. No. I'm so over that.
Especially like
twice.
A guy
like twice.
A guy playing a lady or whatever. It's like, it's so funny. He's got a dress on. Like, it's so stupid. Oh yeah. Jack and Jill has a 1.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
That's pretty bad.
But
one of the worst scores I've ever heard of.
Yeah, honestly. Pixels is so dumb. I feel like,
is it better? What's its score? Is it better than 1.4?
Yeah, it's 2.1 out of 5.
Oh my god,
it's a masterpiece.
Spicy.
Almost above the 50 percentile.
I feel I would
echelon.
If I found out that the script for this movie has existed since like 1985 and it's been sitting on some producer's desk.
Right.
That's a lot of movies.
Because that's kind of how it feels. It feels like it was supposed to be set in the 80s, kids who are obsessed with arcade games, and then they gotta use their skills to save the world. That's what it feels like, but it's fucking Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus. It's not good.
No. he's something else, man.
Finally, I've always been curious about this one. I watched Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Just like wall-to-wall performances and dialogue and like just nothing else.
I've got that on my list, actually.
It's a good one.
It sounds really familiar, but I don't remember.
Yeah, it's a 1966 kind of a classic.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Nichols. It's from the director of The Graduate. Yeah. So, I really, really enjoyed it. If you just want I think it's based on a play because it definitely feels like it's all basically set in one living room and 4 people. And that's it. Just arguing for 2 hours.
I believe it is based off of a play.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
Really, really good. Like that. And then yesterday I finished Devilman Crybaby.
The anime?
The anime on Netflix.
Dude, that is one of the most just fucking sad, and crushing, and hopeless. And just, there's only been a couple of things that I've watched in my life that I stopped while I was done, and I just kind of sat and like, fuck. Like, the fuck? Like, fuck, do I just kill myself now? Like, what the fuck? Like, that's the last thing that I watched that really hit me. Like, that thing is fucking, it's good. Yeah. But it's fucking awful. It is crushing.
Super dark. Yeah.
It is crushing. Because, like, there's the last episode or second last episode when, like, he's trying to rush home to save his girl. Yeah. And he's rushing, and you get this, it builds up like, oh, he's going to get there in the nick of time. And no, here's her body parts on pikes. Yeah. Being paraded around. It's like, oh my God. And, like, you get to the end of the series, and, like, just everything's just gone. Everything's fucked. Everything's
super good. I
crazy.
Really didn't know anything about it. It's my partner AJ's favorite anime, and that's why I watched it.
It's wild, man. It's a good watch.
I really loved it. The animation, while not always like the highest quality, is
super
like the design is really good.
Super interesting, super dynamic.
Yeah, the themes and stuff felt much more Western than I was expecting because it's dealing with like Christian God and demons and stuff. Yeah. It's very. I mean, they literally have holy Bibles at several scenes in the movie.
the fucking culmination of the series is
Yeah.
Satan, right?
Yeah,
Lucifer.
yeah.
That's just like, all right, well, boop, reset, everything's fucked, you're all gone.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it's 10 episodes. They're about 25 minutes apiece on Netflix. And
Yeah, I
highly
would
recommend
definitely
it.
say it's worth watching. For
Yeah, it
animes,
flies by.
it's super intense. It made me curious to watch because that's an older anime.
Yeah, it's been remade a couple different
Yeah.
times. The original
And
one's from the 70s.
Yeah, and I feel like they don't like they have to be so much different. They
Yeah.
have to be weird.
I
but not
I
that
think
heavy, not quite that heavy.
the original one, they pretty much probably the only thing it has in common is the main character, Akira,
Right.
who becomes Devilman, and then his friend Ryu,
Right.
who's like
Yeah,
goading him into
I'm
becoming
sure
Devilman.
they like modernize the shit out of the
Oh
of
yeah,
everything.
and turned it into like a more shaped story and metaphor, and oh my god, it's really good.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. And then again with Letterbox numbers, Letterbox keeps track of your stats of all the stuff you watch, and I always get the biggest kick out of watching those numbers go up.
Yeah.
So my lifetime movies was coming up on my 5,555th movie.
Yeah. Nice.
So I watched Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
And it was really stupid. It's so boring.
It's
so
so what cracks me up that that was
convoluted.
even made is because of course they had to make it because it's like this. Big
I don't know
fucking-
this. I don't know this film. You're gonna have to give me
It's
some
a kid's
context.
It's a kid's horror game franchise that's like been super popular for like 10
Okay.
years. All the kids fucking love it. It's like jump scare stuff.
Yeah.
that's set in like a Chuck E. Cheese type with like
what's
animatronic
hilarious,
animals and stuff.
so they had to make the movie eventually, right?
Mhm.
But they got beaten to the punch by the guys that made Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah.
And like it's the same thing, but just like had to be so much more entertaining.
Yeah, I haven't
Like,
seen that one, but I kind
You
of
haven't
want to watch
seen
it.
Willy's
now.
Wonderland?
No.
Okay, you should watch Willy's Wonderland, and then tell me what you think of the comparison.
Yeah.
Willy's Wonderland is actually pretty goddamn fun. It's
Yeah.
a cool fucking movie. But like, so they still had to like force this franchise movie to exist. But some indie guys did like a mock of what would have been the franchise movie, and it was fucking awesome. So
Yeah.
like, why even fucking bother? You know, just for the little kids out there that didn't want to. Their parents didn't want to let them watch.
And then I couldn't tell was this one rated R? Like
I don't
there was
know.
no language or a lot of blood or anything, but then every once in a while
There might have been smoking.
there was like
Yeah, that's good
more
nowadays.
more violence than I was
You may as
expecting.
well have a
but-
fucking goddamn monocle and a fucking cat and a death ray if you fucking smoke a cigarette nowadays.
but
Super
yeah,
villain
this
shit.
one came out like at the end of last year. Or no, it came out in October, I think, of last year.
Yeah, dude, Willy's Wonderland it's the exact same premise essentially, but it's so much fun because the main character is Nicolas Cage, and he says nothing the entire film. But it's like he gets trapped into cleaning up this old, Chuck E. Cheese franchise that you learn is like haunted by the souls of these demon worshippers that did this child sacrifice. So as he's cleaning this place up, each one of the characters like animates and tries to fucking kill him, but he just beats the fucking shit out of it and murders it, and then just like bags it up and just continues to clean. But after every kill of one of these monsters, he stops. He's got a watch that beeps on a set alarm to drink some random energy drink. And the entire movie, at the beginning of the movie, he finds this pinball machine. And so like as the movie goes on, as he's fucking these dudes up, like he stops, drinks his energy drink, fucking cleans up this pinball machine, and then eventually like just plays the pinball. I don't know. It's fucking weird, but it works. It's fun.
Yeah.
It was one of the most fun Nicolas Cage movies of the last 5 years for sure.
But yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's. Don't watch it.
Watch Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah. Okay, that's
that's
it.
it.
That's
That's
it
all
for me.
for you, John.
So I don't have a whole lot.
That's allowable.
So yeah, last time I had a lot, so this time I have less. One thing I didn't talk about on the last episode that I wanted to is Shadow in the Cloud, which was a monster movie that was also like a World War II period piece, which was also like a female empowerment movie, all kind of wrapped into one.
Yeah.
But it was super fucking fun. It was presented really well. It all takes place on a B-52 bomber. This woman makes her way on, under, potentially false pretenses, and then the whole crew being a bunch of dudes in the fucking service in the 40s are like, man, that's fucking lame. But it ends up being, it's all about a gremlin, and it's the only time I've seen a gremlin movie ever, and I thought it was really well done. I thought the gremlin...
Gremlin
yeah,
mythology,
like
not like
Gremlin to the
Gremlins
lore
the movie.
Of a
Yeah.
Gremlin. Yeah, not Gremlins the movie, but the Gremlins that is like an aeronautical lore at this point where they fuck up your machines and make accidents happen. But yeah, it was a fucking ride, man. It was super interesting. It was started with a lot of like pretty much all dialogue for the first like 30 minutes.
Yeah,
or so.
and not just all dialogue, but like all dialogue over like radio, so you're not even seeing people talking.
You have all of it's the main character in the bottom turret of this B-52 having dialogue with these people that you've just gotten a glimpse of, and then as soon as like the dialogue bit of the film is over, it's just a fucking crazy ride of action and intensity. That's what I liked about it, is how quickly it all just fucking 360s and turned into a whole different film.
Yeah.
The payoff is great. The performance of the main character is great. So yeah, totally worth watching. The only time you're going to see a film about a aeronautical gremlin, I think.
Yeah.
But they handled it really, really well.
I think it's definitely an underused premise because feel like there's so much room for like thrills.
There's been like
tension.
there's been a handful of things about it. I think there's some much older films that use the idea of a gremlin, but this one is definitely.
Well, I even like specifically though the flying fortress, like because they're such little like flying fortresses, right?
No, it was really cool to see this film, to see the innards of it, because they are fucking cool. I mean, I think I said it to you, like, it's really hard to be, I don't know, a person and be like, that's not cool.
Yeah,
like,
honestly.
They're fucking cool, you know? And they really get to see the insides of it and the workings and the play of the characters inside of it. It was fucking sweet, man. I really, really dug it. I thought it was super well done. It gets fucking ridiculous, like super ridiculous as far as what happens in the action, but it's perfectly fine because it's a goddamn monster movie at the end of the day, so
I think that
you want it to be ridiculous.
The movie gets kind of like shit on for being cheesy and like dorky and stuff, but like that's the setting of the. Yeah. It's like an episode of Twilight Zone. No, you don't watch.
It is, exactly. And I wouldn't describe any of it as cheesy. Like it's over the top.
Yeah,
for sure. There's some shit that's way over the top.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it cheesy. I mean, like the worst thing is when she falls from after like traversing the bottom of the plane by hand using fucking bullet holes, carrying a baby, and then falls and the plane explodes and she like the concussion shoots her up into the plane. Like, that's over the fucking top.
Yeah.
I don't know if I call it cheesy though.
I also don't think like you're. Like, fucking watch the movie. Like,
no, exactly.
The movie, I don't think they're just because that exists in a movie, the movie is going like, look how realistic this is.
Yeah, hell no. They don't
It's a movie about gremlins.
They don't care, exactly. It's like, this is fucking fantasy, essentially. Yeah. Buckle up. This is just cool shit.
If it was an anime, y'all wouldn't say shit.
Exactly. No, man, there's something to be said about a movie just doing cool shit and being a cool experience. And that comes to my next movie that I watched, finally, rounding out my Peter Jackson experience.
Oh.
I rewatched Frighteners for the first time since I was probably fucking, 15, 16. Fucking fantastic, man. And it's very much over the top. There's a lot going on. It's definitely a lot of fun. But still good performances. I mean, good. I love much more use of CGI, of course, because it was that day and age, but a very solid use of CGI. It held up about as well as it could have, I think. Like, it didn't hold up as well as like Starship Troopers holds up, but it's still like they kept it contained and they used it in a way that made sense for the film, and like you can't say too much bad things about it. But Michael J. Fox is the lead, which I haven't seen him in a movie in fucking forever, and watching I'm like, fucking poor guy.
Yeah.
Had to get fucking Parkinson's. But yeah, no, it's good. And after watching all the original Peter Jackson movies, I would say that this movie if you watched his early stuff and were like, oh, I like Peter Jackson, this is the last movie that feels like Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
After this movie, it just is a guy making movies that doesn't. You don't have to care about his past because they all just became whatever he made.
Yeah.
Whatever was asked of him, but this still feels like his. But super fun ride. Get some Toothy Busey in there.
Toothy Busey.
Toothy Busey. The younger
What's
Busey.
up, everybody? We are Toothy Busey.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just a good fucking fun movie, man. Super fun movie. And then I finally got to watch Godzilla -1.
Hell yeah.
Which-
Well, did you though?
Yeah, I mean, I watched like 70% of it, and then my medication made me fall asleep. But fantastic, though, gotta say, just beautiful. Like as soon as, because I knew it won awards for like visuals.
Mhm.
As soon as I started, like the first like 20 minutes, I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, this is fucking like amazing.
On a budget of like
Yeah.
a 20th of what like a Marvel movie
Yeah.
costs.
No, dude, no shit. And it's like it looks so good, and like all the performances are fantastic. That the real story building is there, and like bringing it back to like original Godzilla roots, where he's just a fucking force of nature that just happens, and it's just a great analogy for the fucking terrible things we do.
Yeah.
He's an analogy for the shame of humanity, while the main character deals with all of his own shame for all the things that he did.
Yeah.
Shame on shame on shame.
Yeah.
I just
Godzilla is
I thought
like
it was a phenomenal movie.
Oh, it's a
it's
fantastic
incredible.
film.
It's
great.
Godzilla's like a survivor's guilt demon that just wants to terrorize this one
If it's
pilot.
not the best, is I know I'm the biggest in this room, the biggest Godzilla novice.
Yeah.
And
Right.
if it's not the best Godzilla movie, please point me in the right direction.
No, it is.
It
It
is. It
is.
is. And that's one thing that's one thing I really liked about it was that it's so much better than all the OG Godzilla stuff, any of the Godzilla stuff. I think it is just flatly the best Godzilla movie. I mean, there's probably some animes that maybe there's some really good Godzilla animes out there.
Yeah.
But film-wise, absolutely. But so it's like so much more than the OG dorky Godzilla stuff. But I loved that they made him, like his face, look so much like the
Yeah.
original Godzilla. And it's like, he's kind of cute.
Yeah.
He's kind of adorable. He's
Yeah,
got this nice
the-
like, rounded face and stuff. He's like, when you just see his face, he's not threatening at all.
Yeah.
You know?
His eyes are so creepy because they're very small and beady, but they
Yeah.
also have like a catness to
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Um,
No, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Super good film. I'm gonna rewatch it again to get the full effect. But yeah, there's nothing bad to say about it. And the last thing I have to talk about is a movie called Death Dream from the guy that directed A Christmas Story, because he did a bunch of he did a fair amount of horror movies. Actually, a movie that I watched a month ago that I didn't talk about because it was just kind of like a really weird B low budget horror movie, I think from the 70s, but it was quirky enough to be entertaining. It was like a zombie flick where this like super pretentious playwright guy like gets his crew, like his theater crew, to go to this fucking island and enact some satanic ritual, and then it actually works, and then they get fucking murdered by zombies. Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things is what that film was called. Actually directed by the same guy that did Death Dream, that did A Black Christmas, and then later A Christmas Story.
and yeah, oh yes, we discussed this
And
earlier this week.
Porky's.
He directed Porky's,
Yeah.
Baby Geniuses.
Yeah.
He also directed Baby Geniuses too.
Ooh.
And kind of like I don't know what do we call it? Our thing that we are all hunting for, the movie we are waiting to watch together. He
Yeah.
directed the Sylvester Stallone, Dolly Parton
Oh,
film
yeah, yeah.
Rhinestone.
Yes. we might have to like
Everywhere.
YouTube that or something. This has to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
That's
No,
our
we-
holy
yeah,
grail
for sure.
of the
Yeah.
podcast.
So-
This is going to be a Friday night when we're all just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
They got to put the 4K out of that any day.
The 4K.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Get the fucking the best experience of Sylvester Stallone
we're gonna-
sweating, playing some
No,
country
this
music.
has to be in standard
Glistening.
definition.
Right.
Less than.
But yeah, so Death Dream was about I was like, I think the description, the first description I read said something about a Vietnam veteran. It's not really a veteran because the guy like dies in Vietnam. But it's about a kid that dies in Vietnam, and his family is informed that he's dead, and then he just shows up, and turns out he's some kind of a zombie / vampire. Don't really get into specifics, but it's honestly a pretty solid flick. Like some pretty good scenes, pretty good shots. Guy's performance is pretty solid for what he is, which is just a fucking like weirdo vampire creep. Solid ending, just kind of like wrapped everything up in a bow. Like didn't like try to do a last minute like, oh, is it over? Like whatever. You just kind of like had the ride, had the experience, and it filled out, and what was done was done. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Death Dream. I think it was like 78, something like that.
74.
74. Okay.
Interestingly, this movie was originally released under the title Dead of Night, and
Dead of
then
Night.
I guess they changed the name to Death Dream later
Yeah.
for some reason.
Yeah, no, it was worth a watch. It was. So I recommend checking that out.
Bob
that was-
Clark.
Oh,
You
yeah,
strange
Bob
man.
Clark.
And what a standout name too.
Yeah. I think that does it for me.
All right.
Mr. Holler.
All right, so I've got a few things. I also watched Furiosa, which I already talked about.
Hells yes.
Also, I watched yesterday. This is the film I was talking about, where it's the one where you see the trailer and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna watch that movie.
Yeah.
And like I finally got around to watching that movie.
Well, it's got like an interesting enough premise that you just can't stop. Like,
Yeah.
well, I gotta check it out. Like,
And there were actually some things that I kind of appreciate. Like I was so down on it just because I'd heard, like you said, like you're interested to watch it, you don't see it in theaters, and then
Yeah.
like, how far do you push it off?
yeah,
And I knew it wasn't going to be great because everybody I trust had already watched it and told me that it wasn't. But there were a couple surprises. I guess the one thing I appreciated the most is, excuse me, for those of you that don't know, yesterday is about basically a dude who's a basically bar musician, like local
down on
musician.
his luck,
Down
out
on
of
his
work
luck kind of a
musician.
guy. And some random thing happens that's not really explained well, to where like there's some kind of
He gets
Whoa,
a concussion
John.
or something,
my
right?
bad.
there's some kind of a sciencey thing. There's like a solar flare.
Oh
or
yeah, it's like just a vague.
just a
supernatural
vague science thing
plot
where all of
thing.
a sudden the whole world is just like things have just been erased. Like,
yeah,
and so the thing that's mentioned the most here, and what this is about, is the Beatles, with Yesterday being the title
okay.
of a
Yeah.
famous Beatles song. So basically, everybody has forgotten that the Beatles
This
exist,
movie.
yeah,
and like to not just the extent, like I mean, the dude owned Beatles vinyl, and he goes to his vinyl collection. The Beatles albums aren't actually there anymore. Like,
Yeah.
That's really specific.
yeah, no, but like also
Who did
there's
this?
other
Yeah.
bands that also don't exist.
Yeah,
And then
there's-
like Coca-Cola doesn't exist, but Pepsi does.
There's just kind of random, no real explanation. There's just a few things that just don't exist anymore, and not like because they're connected to the Beatles type of way, but just like
Right.
Yeah.
it just chose a few other things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I think
it's-
Coldplay is gone.
Yeah, it's a little random. Yeah,
Yeah.
Coldplay. Also, who's the ones that did Wonderwall?
To me, like as the
Oasis,
Oasis, yeah.
as the prop guy that's so like gets stuck on like physical shit in film, it's really weird to like make the records not exist.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole thing doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no,
it's
that's-
just like
that's even more of a
But
stretch.
Yeah.
so he wakes up one morning basically he's the only one that like remembers the Beatles, and he knows because he's hanging out with a bunch of his friends, and he's the guy, like he's the musician, so he's the guy
Right.
that's just fucking around with a guitar, just
Yeah.
doing random
The
things.
guitar
with a
guy
bunch
that
of-
shows up to
bunch-
the
bunch- yeah.
bonfire.
And
playing
that
the
just
guitar.
somehow
like,
has the
so he
entire
plays,
Beatles discography memorized.
Yeah, so he plays a Beatles song, and they're all just like in like tears, and they're like, "What? Like, when did you write that? That was amazing!" And like, so it becomes basically he becomes the Beatles, a one man Beatles, because he just
Yeah.
starts writing their songs.
Wow, what a douche.
So the one thing I did appreciate about it is that that I didn't expect was that he didn't actually remember all the words to all the songs. So he just kind of So he just kind of made up he knew the beat, he knew how to play the guitar parts, he knew the notes, but the words he was not 100% on. So
I mean,
so a lot of the words,
enough,
so a lot of the words are not 100%, and then also he starts to become famous because all these songs, he's just stealing gold records basically. Well, all of a sudden, he's got studios behind him and stuff, and producers, and they're having their input. And so, out of nowhere, "Hey Jude" becomes "Hey Dude" because they don't know who the fuck Jude is, and the studio thinks that "Hey Dude" is more relatable. So I don't know.
And honestly, the moral, the conflict of the movie is him wrestling with the guilt of just stealing, which I don't think, if you wake up in an alternate universe and some art is not there and you recreate it, I don't think that's
kudos
a
for him
thing.
For remembering the parts that he did remember to get there, honestly. And then
I mean, you're also robbing these people of not experiencing those.
Yeah.
And then
fair enough, I suppose.
Not to get too spoiler heavy on
There's
it.
only one
a
person
lot of
though that remembers the Beatles. Just one.
There are three.
Oh, yes, that.
Okay, so there are these
Did they form a band?
there are these he goes to these press conferences and stuff, and there are these groupies that are following him around. They look like two boomers.
Yeah.
Right.
And
they're giving signals they remember also. They hold up a yellow submarine at some point during one of the things, and he finally meets these people, and he's he knows that these people, he's been given the signals.
Right.
So these people also remember the Beatles, and they're
right.
oh fuck, they're gonna sell me as a fraud. And they were just thank you.
Yeah.
They're just thank you. It's we thought that we were the only ones that remembered, and we didn't.
They're not musicians, so they're
we didn't remember all the words, and we're not musically talented. So thank you for keeping this music alive.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, that was kind of a cool thing. I mean,
it's a very interesting movie, but ultimately it does feel like jerking off about the Beatles because I personally do not believe that if you brought the Beatles discography as a one man band to the year, is it 2016, 2018,
right?
Even to modern times,
anybody would give a shit
that you would become viral overnight with putting out the Beatles. I just don't think.
I agree with that. I think that a lot of what makes the Beatles is the atmosphere that they happen in. And that's what cemented them as the Beatles.
I think a lot of what made the Beatles is what happened after the Beatles.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the movie kind of catches it, is because why does Oasis not exist? Because the Beatles never existed. And you know what? If you know anything about
that's fair. Sure.
Oasis wouldn't exist without the Beatles.
But
a lot of rock music would not exist without the Beatles.
They don't even continue with that logic though, because doesn't U2 he specifically checks and U2 exists so it's not even there's a shit ton of bands.
I would agree though with Reese here in that I don't think most of the population a lot of people would
I'm sure you would get a career.
This is super moving. This is amazing. But young people wouldn't give a fuck about the Beatles.
Yeah, and they wouldn't know. They wouldn't understand. So
anybody that's 24 and younger would be like, eh?
Yeah.
That's not fucking house music.
Definitely not for everybody. And there's a reason I put it off for so long. It was okay.
Because the idea is interesting.
I was expecting bad, and I thought it was okay.
Yeah. If anything,
I would probably never watch it again, but I'm glad I watched it the one time.
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same.
It is an interesting premise. It sounds cool enough.
The best part about it, though, I think, and you probably agree, because I literally just talked about this with somebody else, and they said the same exact thing, is he does find in this world John Lennon, who does exist. He just was not an artist or anything.
Yeah.
And they got an actor to play 70-something.
The actor looks
John
and
Lennon.
sounds exactly like John Lennon, too.
And it doesn't look like digital. It doesn't, I don't understand it. It looks like you guys genetically made 75-year-old John Lennon.
Nice.
It's incredible.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah.
I saw Furiosa, and the weekend I saw Furiosa, it was the weekend after Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes came out. I did not get to see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes the weekend that it came out, so I had this dilemma. Do I go see Furiosa on opening night, which I hate crowded theaters, or do I see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and then see Furiosa later? Ended up seeing Furiosa, but then I saw Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes the next day. So, well, I would say that I'm a little more down on Furiosa than what the average person is going to be. Even though I liked it, I would say the same or the opposite about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I think I'm a little higher on it than what the average person might be.
Yeah.
I actually really like this reboot. I'm really excited about where the franchise is going. I thought it was fresh, which that has always been a thing with Planet of the Apes. It always is fresh. Like, kind of been introducing Molly to it for the first time. She's like, so when they do these reboots, is it always just the same thing? I'm like, never. It's always a completely different thing. Sometimes it fails, sometimes it's successful, but it's always different. And especially since the new reboot, starting with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I guess if you want to go back further, you can do the shitty one with Mark Wahlberg and Tim Burton or whatever. But
That was Tim Burton.
Yeah, that was Tim Burton's.
Yeah.
I was gonna say breakout movie, but no, he did the Batman.
I mean,
that was just a weird choice for him, honestly.
It was.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
We went back and watched that one recently.
Rebranding movies was that's attempted to be.
Yeah.
We also went back and watched that. I could add that. We went back and watched the Tim Burton, Mark Wahlberg.
Fucking Tim Burton.
Yeah.
The fuck.
Helena Bonham Carter's in it.
Yeah.
What was he doing?
Nobody knows.
Weird.
Nobody knows.
That,
it is
that might be like one of the turning points of his career. That might have marked the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
But I guess my point is, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It's not too late. Go see it in theaters. It's visually the best Planet of the Apes movie by far. There's a scene that takes place in a city, and it took me probably 3.5 seconds to realize that it was in a city because the city just looked like an overgrown jungle.
Yeah.
I love that they so they're definitely in the tribal side of the apes. Like the apes are definitely in tribes now, to where basically it's different interpretations of the teachings of the Caesar ape from the previous trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it's just how the certain groups interpret like the written word of this guy is like the difference between all the tribes. And it's really
very on the nose because that's
Yeah.
pretty much the same for religion.
It's very on the nose.
It is. It's like denominational. It really is.
Because like his tribe, they say the apes together strong, and the apes don't kill apes. And what's the third one? Is it just the two?
Yeah.
Apes together strong. Yeah. They say that, but they don't have the like the kind of window design. And they don't. I don't even think. Do they do the? I don't know. But and then they run into like this aggressive invading force, and then they're chanting for Caesar as they're killing people and stuff. So like, yeah. It's
definitely interesting, and I like that the ape that the tribe is based on, which Reese, you had said before you didn't think the characters were as strong, and I actually 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Even though I do think that they've only had one movie to set up their characters, where like the Caesar movies had, a trilogy to get it there. I did like the tribe, like the main tribe is like they like raise eagles. Like it's this whole, like they're almost like falcon eagles.
Yeah. And they call them the Eagle Tribe.
Yeah.
They have like, cause they train the eagles for scouting. The eagles fish for them. Like it's really cool.
Yeah, that's sweet.
The world building for a movie that honestly can take it pretty easy with the world building, because like they got some shortcuts. The world building I think is pretty cool as far as
I think that's
the tribes and the technology.
Like that. I think you kind of want that.
I don't want to say
Subtle
too
ways.
much on the human element, because I think it would probably provide spoilers for the film. But I think that's actually the human element is actually where I got the highest scores for this film, and it's really how they handle the human element is always where these films land for me. And you know that you're on the timeline, you're somewhere after the last movie you've seen, but like still before the very first Planet of the Apes from the 60s. You're somewhere in between these timelines.
That's
and the evolution of where humans are on that timeline, to where like you think about like at the end of the most recent trilogy, the humans just start to lose their ability to speak. And you think of like the original Charlton Heston Planet of the Apes, none of the humans that are already there on Planet of the Apes can speak. They're all just like animals, basically.
Right.
And where the humans lie in this movie, again, kind of makes it's just different than any of the others.
Right.
And I really enjoy the evolution of everything as they start. Basically, they're just trying to get back to that original movie, is what it seems like, and that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is pretty much even with the weird sequels and stuff from the original Planet of the Apes. It is kind of like an unconquered like segment of time,
Right,
like
yeah.
kind of halfway
Space and
between
time,
the two, the
Yeah.
origins and the Planet of the Apes.
The one thing that separates the old 60s and 70s movies from all the new ones, not counting Tim Burton's piece of shit, because that just doesn't need to. We don't have to pretend that.
Yeah,
is
that
a
can
thing.
just not exist.
But basically, the trilogy, the Caesar trilogy, and then this new movie, and it was watching it with Molly where we got it. I don't know. We were either watching the second or the third from the Caesar trilogy, and she's just like, "It's fucking crazy how like I'm rooting against my own people."
Yeah,
in this, you know, it's like you're actually rooting against the human race.
yeah.
And that is a cool little element that they've done with these.
I would
With this
say
new.
It's honestly the best part of the new
Pretty
ones.
easy to root against the human.
It is
Honestly,
pretty easy.
yeah.
We're a
They
bunch
make
of
it very
fucking
easy.
assholes.
Make it very easy.
And if you think it's easy, like in the other three, just you still haven't seen this
Yeah.
one, right?
No,
It
no.
is. It is so easy to root against.
I mean,
the
I'm
humans.
always rooting against the human race.
Honestly, yeah.
And for kind of the same time.
And then I wanted to mention a couple more things. I binged a series. I had finished Reservation Dogs, and I got my Lily Gladstone 2 episodes with her, and she just stole the show. So I had to binge this mini series that she did on Hulu called Under the Bridge. Really, really well done series.
Does she play a troll?
Does she play? She does not play a troll, actually.
I would go home and watch it right now if it was a fantasy where she
No.
played a troll.
No, it's
I actually really like troll stuff.
yeah, no trolls here. She plays a police officer.
Okay.
Oh, pig.
And so I didn't really. Normally, I wouldn't get up for this movie because I feel like this miniseries has been made like 50 times. But it's like,
Yeah.
Teenager goes missing. Local police investigate. And then like some teenagers are suspected. And
Right.
Honestly,
it's like that movie.
You didn't watch the newest season of True Detective, but especially with a Native American police officer. That's like immediately thought
pretty
of.
much that.
The difference
True
here, though,
Detective.
that this is actually based on a true story, and to the point where one of the main characters is a writer that's from the town. It's based in Canada. She's from the town, moves away, comes back to write a book, and basically chooses this murder / disappearance as a
Right.
source for her book. And so what really captured me is I got to like the second to last, it's only 8 episodes. I got to the like second last episode, and I realized that like when they're doing the beginning credits, it says based on the book by, and the book is by the fucking name of the character that's the chick that moved back into town.
Okay.
She makes herself look terrible in this. Like
Yeah.
she actually was a net negative for what was going on. And like she comes across as kind of a cunt, honestly.
Yeah.
And I believe that it's actually what she wrote and that it's true to what actually happened, because
That is interesting.
she would never have made herself look that bad willingly unless
Right.
it was actually necessary, you know.
Right.
And
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But it's actually really fucking interesting. It's one of the most powerful things I've ever seen on the idea of bullying. Like it's basically like talk about Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Dude, that movie doesn't have shit on these girls. Like the one girl is like basically like just all into herself, and she's obsessed with the mafia and the idea of like she just wants
to make her own.
no. Her idol is John Gotti.
God damn.
And she talks about John Gotti all the time.
An unhealthy little girl.
No, exactly.
Full chest tattoo of John Gotti.
Yeah, and like basically she wants to like make enough money to. She lives in like it's like a orphanage or something, or like a home for kids that need placement, and like she's always talking about how like she's just trying to collect enough money to where she can move to New York and work for John Gotti and do hits for John Gotti.
Wait, when does it take place?
It took place in 1997.
Oh, okay. And where does it take place?
It takes place in Canada.
Okay.
I can't remember the exact
It's snowy,
city.
right?
It's not snowy.
Oh, it's not snowy. Okay.
It's
Okay.
not
That was
snowy.
just the poor detective.
Yeah, that's
True
just,
detective.
that's just you taking your preconceived notions on what Canada is into this idea. But anyway,
Pretty sure
Lily
Canada's always
Gladstone,
snowy.
absolutely phenomenal. Lily Gladstone plays a adopted, obviously, like native. She was adopted by a police family. Like the father was a cop, his father was a cop, her brothers are cops, so she becomes a cop. And this is getting into spoiler territory, but she accidentally kind of figures out how she came to be, and it's very much a like kind of what happened in Killing of the Flower Moon. Like there was like she finds out basically that there was like a group of people that were like kidnapping native kids and then like selling them to like white families,
Jesus.
basically as like an adoption kind of thing. And she finds out, and like she's just like, kind of rocks her world. Like, fuck. She's like, I'm wearing the same uniform as the people that probably kidnapped me. You know?
Damn.
I don't know. There's a lot to digest. It's a very fucking.
Seems cool.
It's a very good series. I wouldn't normally like. To me, I hear like kid gets abducted or missing, and it sounds very much like a Lifetime kind of a thing. Very much more powerful than that, and dude, it is fucking brutal. Like the violent scenes are kind of cringy.
Yeah.
So warn you on that. The last thing I wanted to mention was I'm only a few episodes in. The second season of the Interview with the Vampire series has come out, and really love the first season. I'm only like 2 or 3 episodes into the second season. It's just as good as the first.
Nice.
I
only got about 4 episodes in, but I really appreciated.
No, it's like the best. You think about the movie with Brad Pitt, and like it's just too fast, it's not enough time to tell that story.
No, it's not.
You talk about like vampires, it's like you're talking about lifetimes upon lifetimes, and you tell the entire story in 90 minutes. Like that doesn't work.
Well, and the character development for a vampire takes those lifetimes.
Yeah.
Right? Like conceptually, like a vampire that's 400 years old is going to be way different than a vampire that's 100 years old.
Yeah, they could have. I mean, they could have split the vampire Interview with the Vampire movie into a trilogy, probably.
I also think that in the 90s they were probably afraid to like touch on the
homoeroticism.
I mean, it's just homosexuality, really. Like vampires. John, you and I have had the conversation before. It's like if you're a vampire and you're alive for like 600 years, like there's no way you've only had sex with one sex at that point. Like you're gonna get bored. What
are you gonna do? Not fuck a dude?
You're gonna fuck a lot of things, and especially when most of them are also gonna be rich by default. Because like if you live forever, you should probably, unless you're a fucking idiot, you should probably be really wealthy. So like then you get like, oh, now they're really wealthy people that live forever and have ultimate power. They're
have castles with dungeons.
They're gonna fuck everything they can.
The one super positive I have so far in this new season is the Armand character, played by what's his name, the Hispanic dude from all the Robert Rodriguez movies. Antonio Banderas.
He's in it.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, Antonio Banderas.
Oh, in the movie.
original,
Okay.
it was Antonio Banderas, and the casting of this Armand makes for a much more alluring and like I'm much more interested in his character than I was the Antonio Banderas character. And if you've ever like read any of the Anne Rice books or read into any of the info, like he's too important of a character to just have the quick Antonio Banderas intro and depart that you got with the movie. Yeah, like that role deserves better than that. And like this character is just like I don't even know where they're going with him, and like I'm intrigued, you know, like
cool.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all I had.
All right.
Nice.
We've got a feature to talk about, but before that, I've got two quick movie notes.
Okay.
A couple people might be excited. One of these has some relation to the feature today. But basically, Netflix has announced that the green light for the Peaky Blinders movie to cap that series.
Nice.
And
it's a good way to do that too.
It really is.
That. I always like
really
movies
is,
to just
especially if you can
series.
get away with like a theatrical release. That's always so
sure.
cool.
I think they have said that they might. I think originally they said they might do multiple movies to end this one, depending on how it goes. But if you're a fan of the series like I was, you watch the end of it. They totally left it open to do something, and they kind of said that they probably would. Cillian Murphy's had a lot of success, but they still got him to come back and do this movie. So if you only get one, that's fucking awesome.
It's a good time to be Cillian Murphy.
No shit. No shit.
And then I think there's the 28 years later coming.
Because that's pretty much that's happening.
Yeah. And then the last thing I had is I read about some another green light here. Maggie Gyllenhaal is directing The Bride.
Yeah.
Which is an adaptation of The Bride of Frankenstein.
Ooh. Cool. Is this one with Christian Bale?
It will be starring Christian Bale, her brother, the other Gyllenhaal.
Oh, shit.
Penelope Cruz, Peter Sarsgaard, and Annette Bening all signed on. Yeah. And so I'm a sucker for anything Frankenstein.
Dude, you add like an amazing cast like that? That's fucking fresh.
Have you seen, there is a makeup picture of Christian Bale? Have you seen it?
I have not. No.
Do you want to see it?
Christian Bale actually plays the monster.
Yeah.
Nice.
Named Frank.
His name
is cool.
Yeah.
I have not seen the picture, so
it's
go ahead and throw that up.
I don't give a fuck, dude.
Google.
I've always been a huge fan of Christian Bale.
I mean, I've seen some of the movies Maggie Gyllenhaal's directed. She's a fantastic director.
Well, she's and Jake's in it too.
Jake's in it too. He that was the actual headline. That was that Jake signed on to do his sister's movie. Yeah. Which they always try to do these Frankenstein remakes, and they're always trash. So I'm very hopeful.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
So he's got like the real bold, pronounced bolts on the head.
Yeah. Okay.
And then he's also got tattoos and stuff, but it's
but not too many, not too much. Like that's
not the Joker.
Yeah, no.
He doesn't have damage to cross his forehead.
He doesn't have fucking bullshit on his cheeks and yada yada yada, and a grill. I don't see a grill, so we're already ahead there. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's great. No, that's exciting shit. That's exciting.
I'm excited. I didn't know Jake Gyllenhaal was going to be in it. I knew some of the other stuff, but that's sweet. That's exciting.
All right. I also want to take a moment before we get to the feature here. I like to put off the feature, especially when I get comments like this.
Yeah.
So we do this podcast. We watch movies. We come here and talk into mics for a while. We don't even do our own editing. A couple other guys do that for us.
Oh, the comment.
Yeah. So Nate, one of the guys that Nate Patterson, one of the guys that does our editing, brought up this thing from 3 months ago. This comment that this guy left on our YouTube page.
Huh.
And it's actually a pretty full paragraph, so I figured I would just read it.
Okay.
This is from Tiny Guy 9398, and it is about the episode of referring to Dogville.
Ooh, okay.
Tiny Guy 9398 says, although it took forever to get to your discussion of the actual movie, I'm glad I had the patience to wait, as I was unsure, having never listened to your content before, what your opinion would be of this movie. But your discussion definitely kept me engaged once you got to it, and I hope you all eventually do cover other films by LVT, Lars von Trier, on this channel, as well as the sequel, Matterley.
Yeah, I would like
as
to
his
watch
stuff
the
can
sequel.
really get under your skin, mind you, in a good way. To quote Trier, a good film should be like a pebble in your shoe. And this film has been like a pebble in mine ever since the first time I saw it. So this is really for us more than for the listeners. Keep that in mind. This is our technically our first ever request from a listener.
Yeah.
He wants the sequel
Manterley.
to Dogville. So as you guys make your picks in the future,
that.
please keep in mind Tiny Guy 9398.
Yeah.
Oh. Damn.
And now to the feature. I chose Poor Things, and I think that Reese has probably got something pulled up where you can give me
Yes, the Letterboxd. Poor Things 2023, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. Brought back to life by an unorthodox scientist, a young woman runs off with a lawyer on a whirlwind of adventure across the continents. Free from the prejudices of her times, she grows steadfast in her purpose to stand for equality and liberation. And the tagline is, she's like nothing you've ever seen.
Some fucking
that's
terrible
it.
tagline.
That's the
Oh
tagline.
my god.
You could have done so much more than that with this movie.
I mean, you could just put that in front of Barbie. Like, you could put that in front of, like any
Yeah.
female-led movie, honestly.
Oh my god.
for sure.
What a terrible fucking. All right, so
Yeah.
let's start with Yorgos Lanthimos, director.
It is available to watch on Hulu. If anyone wants to watch it, highly, highly, highly recommend.
Watch it quickly. Who
We're gonna
knows how
spoil
long
it.
Hulu will have it. Yorgos Lanthimos. Other films include The Lobster, The Favorite, The Killing of a Sacred Deer. The only other film I've seen of his is The Lobster, which I think I've already
The only one I
trashed
haven't-
on this
I haven't
podcast.
watched The Lobster yet. This is the only one I've seen of his.
Yeah, it's basically it's you know, if you got a bunch of people to play around in your backyard, like if you had woods behind your backyard and you got a bunch of people to play around in it and talk about how they're going to become animals, and then eventually after they get tired of playing around the woods they go to a truck stop, that's The Lobster. I really believe like,
I love The Lobster, by the way.
God.
I think The
I
Lobster
don't
is
believe you
fantastic.
actually love The Lobster. There's no way you actually
I'm super
love The
curious to
Lobster.
watch it.
I love The Lobster.
Oh
I've
my
seen it
God.
3
I
times.
have to watch it.
What a waste of time, that fucking movie.
It's got some crazy people in it, too. I always forget John
Hard
C.
to believe
Reilly
it's
is
the
in
same
it.
Director.
The cast of The Lobster, honestly. Colin Farrell, Rachel Weisz, Olivia Colman, Leah Seydoux.
By the way, where did Rachel Weisz come from? I hadn't seen her
Ben
in like
Whishaw.
20 years, and she shows up in this movie, and I'll never see her again.
Yeah. I mean, she's in a few, like, kind of
Shopping.
indie hits. Like, she was in the
Living on an
TV
island.
show version of, they did a TV show of Dead Ringers. And she played the twin surgeons. Yeah. But
Okay,
Poor
so
Things.
Poor-
Sorry. I highly recommend of Yorgos Lanthimos' movies, you guys should watch The Favorite. It's
The Favorite.
very, very good.
also starring Emma Stone,
Yep,
correct?
and
Yeah.
Olivia Colman and Rachel Weisz.
Okay, just got a thing for Rachel Weisz, I guess.
I mean, who wouldn't?
In this film, though, Emma Stone plays character Bella Baxter. We'll call her Frankenstein monster. Created by Willem
Kind
Dafoe's
of,
character,
Kind of. It's
Godwin Baxter.
I think it's,
God for short.
I think it's an oversimplification to call it a Frankenstein thing because it's not exactly a Frankenstein thing.
Yeah, so basically, Emma Stone's character kills herself. The movie opens with her killing herself, jumping off of a bridge
While pregnant.
while pregnant. We don't know she's pregnant at the time, but we find out over time. Willem Dafoe, being mad scientist, his father founded a university
Yeah.
and did horrific things to him.
Just experiments.
Willem Dafoe's character, God Baxter, looks more Frankenstein than the actual Frankenstein,
Yeah,
just
so
from
that's-
the fucked up shit his father
pretty
did to him
much
as experiments.
Like what Frankenstein the monster did.
Yeah.
You know, like this is what he did.
Yeah, like he's Frankenstein's
accomplishment.
monster.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah, he's making his own monster.
he's trying to make Bride of
Second
Frankenstein,
generation monster.
daughter of Frankenstein.
Some of my favorite parts of the movie, though, are every time that God talks about his dad.
Oh, I
He's
love
like,
Yeah.
those scenes.
He's like he removed this organ from me to see how it would affect me. Turns out we need it, but he was a forward-thinking person.
yeah, he's so like okay with all his dad's justifications for the crazy shit he did.
So I wanted to read the audiobook or listen to the audiobook.
Yeah, I didn't know
of
it was
this.
a book. Somebody
Yeah.
was commenting on my post about
And
that.
I did buy it, and I listened to like the first few chapters, and I am going to finish it. But it's very interesting. It's the kind of, I don't know, I'm sure there's a name for this trope where it's the author has an intro where it's like, I discovered these files in a basement, and I'm publishing them here for posterity, you know, but it's presenting it as like, I didn't write this story, I discovered it. And it's like that. He like found the medical notes of the McCandless character, and is like publishing the story. And I think it's very interesting. Even they go even further into that dynamic where Defoe's character, like when he quotes or talks about his dad, he doesn't say my father, he says Professor Baxter or whatever. And then McCandless like, who? And he's like, oh, him. He's like, you mean your dad? He's like, I mean, I never heard anybody call him dad.
Right. Yeah. No, the characters are. It's a lot of layers of insanity in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, as is described later by God himself, and by God I mean Willem Dafoe, he finds this woman who had just plunged to her death, body still warm, pulse still light. He said he could have saved her life if he wanted to, but I mean, she obviously didn't want it. So he has dead woman, live baby inside of her. So he does. It was obvious to him.
Yeah.
You take the brain of the live baby and put it in the woman. So here we have a full-grown woman with a baby brain inside of her.
The explanation of that, like, it was pretty beautiful dialogue, like the delivery, because you're like, at the end of it, like, I mean, you know, like, yeah, I could see that as you're a mad scientist.
His explanation is
what
like,
else are you gonna do?
He's like, I could have revived her, but she chose to kill herself.
Yeah.
That's not very nice.
So Remy Youssef plays the Max McCandless, and basically he's a student of God Baxter, and he basically pulls him aside and says, I need a assistant for a project. Pulls him into his house. And by the way, Max is like the most gullible, go-along guy. Perfect for an assistant for a mad scientist.
Yeah.
I mean...
he puts up just a little bit of like, well, that's not a good idea, is it? Like, we're doing it. Okay.
Yeah, he's kind of perfect for it. And so he gets introduced to Bella without any real information.
No information.
He's just left to discover on his own what's going on. And he describes this this woman who's kind of unpredictable. But like, this is the humor you're in for. He first meets her, and she immediately just punches him in the face and says, "Blood, blood!"
Yeah,
as his nose bleeding, and the first words he says about her, "What a very pretty retard."
And then she proceeds to piss herself.
Yeah. Now, so, man, they handle her character and her development little loose, but it works.
Yeah.
It works.
The movie is fantastical enough that you don't need to question the logic.
There's also a fantastical setting to the movie that you don't quite get. Like, it seems, so I didn't know exactly the premise, like, period wise, and then I watched it and I'm like, oh, it's like a fucking 19th century vibe that makes some of this like track more and feel more natural, and like the characters and responses a little bit more natural. And then like subtly you get hints, never real confirmation, just hints of like steampunk futuristic vibes.
Yeah.
It's like fucking like gondolas and shit flying through the sky and stuff. She's like, that makes this track just a little bit more. Okay, let's go.
Yeah,
Molly loved how she pointed out how like they have a steam powered carriage, but he still has a horse's head on.
Yeah, dude. No, that's one of my. I caught that.
Yeah,
and that's a fantastic no reason moment, dude. In the film. Like, 'cause they don't like you have to catch it.
Yeah, I think I actually missed that the first time I watched it. I didn't notice it to the second
you
viewing.
See it once. It's fantastic.
It's so funny.
Yeah. This movie is fucking hilarious.
And that is
great.
That is like the takeaway from the. I've now seen it 3 times. Going like when I named it as the movie we were watching for this, I'd only seen it once. We rewatched it together. I watched it yesterday, so I've seen it 3 times now, and I can't contain my laughter when I watch this. Even the third watch, I was just like, there was a moment where I had to like pause because I was like crying. And it's not the same moment every time, you know. It's just like moments catch me a little different the next watch than what they did the previous.
Yeah, it is hilarious in such a like a timeless way.
So basically, God, Willem Dafoe, gets Remy Youssef, Max McCandless, to be his assistant and watch over Bella and her development. Who Bella is basically maturing at a quicker than normal rate.
Yeah.
Whatever science might exist behind that, her maturity is ramping up at an excessive rate.
Yeah, they handle that shit pretty loose, but it works.
Yeah,
it does.
And so,
I would say though, have we gotten to the guy, the escape yet?
Well, we have not. We have not.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
So, as a research assistant, Willem Dafoe starts to see a kinship grow between Bella and Max, and is like, "Hey, Max, you should marry her." Just kind of throws it out there. There's before that, there's a scene where Max is asking him, like, "This is beneath me to even ask, but I had wondered, like, did you like create her to be your mistress?" And there's
another one of those moments.
Willem Dafoe is like,
Pop's wisdom.
He's like, it would take a lightning bolt of the electrical current that powers all of London to create a sexual response from me.
It's like I just couldn't come if I did it. It would be useless. Also, she's kind of like my daughter. So.
Yeah. Also, my paternal instincts forego it.
On top of being a eunuch, a scarred eunuch.
That was the more
also just a
important
dad.
reason.
Yeah.
Which, it's so good. The timing on the jokes on this movie, which after watching The Lobster, I wouldn't have thought that Yorgos Lanthimos is going to make maybe the funniest comedy I've ever seen, because The Lobster was just not that at all.
Yeah,
but the fucking timing and the delivery,
the timing is nuts. In this movie. It's
God.
perfect.
And the dialogue is so crazy because Bella talks mostly in first person.
Oh, pretty
for
much.
about half.
Yeah.
The majority.
I don't think she stops referring to herself in third person. I think she just becomes super eloquent and intelligent.
I'd say it's till like the latter half of the brothel where she finally starts saying like, Bella doesn't understand that, you know.
Right.
Like. But what's funny is like at the beginning, it's very much first person, and it's very much of that of like a child or a young teenager.
Yeah, she's basically a fucking toddler when you first.
But then, it's what's weird is
you see a toddler.
The dialogue doesn't change that much. It changes a little bit. She's still in first person, but by the end of the film, skipping ahead here, she's basically become more of a worldly person, and she's much more of like a upper class person.
Yeah.
Still talks to herself in first person, but it still works for this new character she's created.
Yeah, that was one thing that I like. That was fun about the scenes when this character is just like thrashing around in human society, like how most of the time as she's being just super abrasive in speech or manner, all the characters is like, oh fuck, They just gotta roll with it. Like,
Yeah.
this is interesting.
Yeah.
See where this goes.
You know, that part of the film actually reminds me of, and I know you've seen this, I don't think John has, but I think about this film and what is it to me? It's a combination of Frankenstein and Being There.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
You know,
yeah.
and like I definitely get the Being There where like she's just like completely like wild. Like it released on the world, and she just says random shit.
Yeah.
It's really abrasive, and people accept it as like gospel.
No,
and that is literally Being There, the film.
She just does. She just exists. The idea of the film is just a fucking fresh person. It's like, here you go. 100% fresh person. Just go.
Yeah.
Hope your baby brain catches up in time.
Before you get hurt.
Yeah.
So basically God says, Max, you should marry her. Max proposes to her, and they're starting to put in some legal details for an upcoming wedding. Enter lawyer Duncan Wedderburn, played by
only point
Mark
of contention
Ruffalo.
with this film, actually,
Yeah.
is
what?
that spoiler, he's like unaware of the contract on her that like this point in the story he actually fucking writes.
Yeah.
And then like later he's like, what?
No, well, he's assuming by running away with him, he's assuming that she no longer cares about the contract, or like she's done with that. He never discusses it with her until he's like, well, why would you go back to them? And she's like, I'm gonna marry him. He's like, what? But you ran away with me.
But in the verbiage that was like, he's like fucking, he was upset about the. I don't know. I'd have to watch.
I think it was just the fact that she acknowledged that she was. Well, I am still engaged, and he's just like,
her reaction from that. Yeah, her reaction. Okay, yeah. You get it.
Yeah.
You buy that.
But anyway, the point is, Mark Ruffalo plays the biggest fucking dirtbag.
Biggest.
He's such a piece of shit. I'm pretty sure, like, didn't he just stick his finger in her, like, immediately?
Yeah, he's like, I wanted to pinch you to see if you're real. And then he pinches her.
He's just a complete dirtbag.
And so, she's probably about, like, at best, 12 here.
Yes.
Just so everybody knows.
Mentally.
And we didn't bring up the sex at this point.
She's basically 12 right here.
She has like a sexual awakening in bed one day and realizes she can masturbate, make herself feel good whenever she wants to.
I would like to, that's one thing I'll say for this movie, man. It's like, it is really aggressively sexual.
Yeah.
And didn't need to be, but chose to be, but it's fine. It's a fucking great film. Like,
I think it needed it. I think it only helps the movie.
I don't think it only helps the movie.
Yeah.
Don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I don't think it needed it, but it does help.
I think if you take that out, the movie's not funny.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, probably.
And the best thing the movie has going for it is it's undeniably hilarious.
Yeah,
and most of not all of the humor is sexual, but like the sex sets up the rest of the humor in a lot of instances.
I mean, the whole experience is just, it's really hard to argue this movie. Like, it's just fucking honest, hilarious, genuine experience.
I'll never forget, like, there's the scene where she like masturbates in bed for the first time and realizes, and then like she's sitting at the breakfast table and she just grabs an
apple.
She starts grabbing fruit.
Apple, like sticks it up herself, and then like a cucumber.
Not even a thing phallic. She grabs the apple first.
And like, I'll never forget watching this with my wife in the theater for the first time, and she's like, "Come on, bro, we eat here."
Yeah.
And then she says, I found the button for instant happy.
Yeah, for sure. And then the maid says she asked the maid.
Like, close your eyes, and then she tries to stick a cucumber up the maid.
No, that was one of my favorite lines of dialogue from that part of the movie. Is like right after that, everybody's like scolding her. She's like, "No, Bella discovers something, and Bella must share."
She's doing like, you know, why wouldn't you want to do that? You know, you want to share this magical discovery.
No, I mean it's absolutely character and like the sex is absolutely necessary for what the film became, and it would be a totally different film otherwise. But I'm just saying there was a story there and a good one, regardless. It just made this one, but it's fantastic. Like, don't let that put you off. Anybody that might like be put off by the amount of potential sex in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
which I've already described as basically pornographic.
It's
totally
not pornographic.
an amazing film. It's
Yeah.
fucking brilliant. So good.
Yeah. So basically, Mark Ruffalo, dirtbag,
Dirtbag.
Duncan Wedderburn is his name.
But he gets so punished.
He sweeps her off her feet and is like, "You need to come discover the world with me." And fuck your husband. We're gonna just go discover the world together. And she decides that she would like to do that mostly because she has not had
she
the
hasn't.
ability to
Yeah.
discover the
She
world.
hasn't.
So
she learns about something. She's like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
yeah, and she describes it to God basically as like, I will come back and marry him eventually, but I want to go do this discover the world thing first.
Yeah.
And so they go off on merry adventures. Grand adventures, I think she describes them as. And at first, the adventures just seem to be a lot of sex in hotel rooms.
Yeah. And new foods.
Well, I mean,
No
that's
foods.
the thing. Everything's an adventure to her. Actually, one of my favorite scenes is when she finally ventures out on her own,
Yeah.
unaccompanied, because nobody lets her earlier.
Yeah.
And there's barely any dialogue. It's just like
Yeah, just
sound
shit,
and
just
people singing and
noise
stuff.
and the ugliness of the world, and she's like, ugh.
Yeah.
I like it. Like she meets the old lady and the young black dude, and she's just like, excuse me, older lady that looks like she has worldly experience. May I touch your hair?
Yeah,
And this old lady is just like she's like immediately getting sexual with the old lady. She's like, is this young one putting it in you right now? And she's like, oh no, I haven't been bedded in 20 years.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's awful.
she's granted so much comfort by the old woman showing that she regularly masturbates. Oh, thank God! Feels so much better for you now.
Yeah, and at that point, from that point on, that's when her language really picks up into
No, it
bigger
does.
sentences, and she
by
starts
the
doing
end of the
the
film. She's fucking eloquent as shit.
the thesaurus thing where everything is like, that makes me upset, angry, displeased.
Yeah, she's trying real hard.
I gotta say, there's an early scene when they're on their little early in their adventures where she slaps Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
And like there's this pause and he just goes, ow. I swear to God, man, I die every time. The delivery,
Yeah.
the pause was just the right amount.
No, his shit. And there's another scene with him coming up soon that's just it trumped the fucking crocodile sword. The trump for the
What scene are we
crocodile
talking
sword.
about?
The scene where they're outside their room, right?
He goes down to the hotel lobby and fucking smashes.
Oh
his head
yes, he
against
just
the desk.
smacks his head
Or no,
against
he goes to the bar.
twice.
To bar.
It's
Yeah.
after he found out that she
Fuck somebody.
fuck somebody else. Yeah.
All right, so we're getting to that.
Yeah. Sorry. Just an amazing scene.
So basically what you're learning here is that Bella is learning the world
And
through
Bella
travel,
gives no
which
fuc's.
I've been told since I was a
Bella
little
does
one that that's the
everything.
best way to learn is
Oh,
to
yeah.
travel, and this movie kind of exemplifies that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So basically she makes friends with the old lady and the young black fellow, and they educate her on many worldly things. And the young fellow is even like, if you want to see what the world really is, I will show you. And so he basically points out the slums to her and shows all these starving babies,
Yeah.
which prompts her to get very sad and go back to their. This is when they're on a boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they travel to many places.
Yeah.
The scene with the starving people and that whole, like, they go on like this giant staircase out to like the middle
Yeah.
of nothing, and
Yeah.
that whole sequence I thought was one of the most Terry Gilliam feeling.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
big sets and the weird,
Yeah.
you can't tell like
Quite
the
distorted,
the
not
scale
quite.
No,
of things.
and the aesthetic of this film is something else,
Yeah.
man.
We
Yeah.
haven't talked about that at all. And
Yeah.
It really must be talked about because it's a really gorgeous film.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, the sky has always got these like weird, like
Composition.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's the art direction on. I don't know if that's still an Oscar that they give out, art direction, but
It's production, I think.
It's just production.
Art production. I don't remember.
Yeah.
This won like every single technical award. It won hair and makeup,
it
and
should.
costumes, and
Absolutely
set
should.
design.
It was immaculate.
Set design. It's just set design
That
now.
fucking house.
Oh, yeah.
the
Oh, yeah.
doctor's house. Like,
Oh yeah,
geez.
she's like driving. She's like riding
it
that
real or is it-
huge
can't
tricycle
tell.
around. And
Yeah.
Oh, but by the way, the house. I forgot. Going backwards. God, Willem Dafoe's character is like a mix between Frankenstein and Dr. Moreau, because there's like a dog that's got the head of a pig.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
whole experience
and
of this
a
whole
pig that has the head of a chicken.
you get random animals spliced together just in like the daily happenings here, and that also like that's a kind of a subtle thing to just make the story and setting just make so much more like sense, make it more familiar. Like, yeah, this all tracks. Like this works. Like clearly. There's a dog cat there. He obviously knows his shit.
The movie won Best Costume Design, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, and Best Production Design.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also Best
That's
Actress.
what used to be known as art direction, I believe.
Yeah.
Art
But yeah,
direction.
gorgeous movie.
So basically she learns what poverty is and that it's bad and it's something
Poverty's bad.
she's never had to experience, and she is instantly sad about it, and she goes back to the room, which they're on a ship now. They're doing a little
They're on a boat and
they're on a boat. She takes all of Mark Ruffalo's money,
which he just earned from gambling winnings
yeah.
the night before.
Yeah.
So like he's on top of the world shit face.
He hit it
drunk.
big.
He's, like he pulled it out like I was gonna fucking like fail and lose. No.
She attempts to give it to the poor, but really she just gives it to a couple
Yeah,
of the
that's the saddest
workers
thing.
that work for the boat.
I was-
And they ensure her that they will get the money to the poor because they're staying ashore.
I was hoping that was going to get resolved somewhat, like somebody went and got it, you know? But no. It didn't.
it's hard to blame them, you know? Like the guy, the Gerard Carmichael's character, is like, and if we were them and they were us and we would do the same. You know, he's got kind of a point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if we went down there to try to help them, they would like rob us, rape us, and probably murder us. And so anyway, now that they no longer have money, and the fact that Mark Ruffalo was kind of a dick to the captain and one of his mates, they got kicked off the boat, and they are now in Paris with no money. Bella pretty upbeat about the whole thing. It's like, I'll get us a place to stay tonight.
Yeah.
And this is where
Always problem solving.
this is where it kind of becomes Frankenhooker a little bit.
Yeah.
She finds that in Paris she can get money and sex and a place to stay. Basically the same place. It's a one-stop shop for that.
Yeah.
And
her just like little kind of monologue to herself of like, but wait a minute, I need money and I need sex and I need a place to stay.
Yeah.
And you'll pay me for those things.
yeah, the way she broke it down, and she was definitely the evolution of her character. It definitely like a little bit less on the like 12-year-old girl and a little bit more towards just like privileged.
Yeah.
White,
no, she very quickly, from being about 12 when Mark Ruffalo's character nabs her, she does quickly become an adult. Like from that scene on, like you can, within a few scenes, she's pretty much adultized.
But what's crazy is her speech patterns don't really change. It's just the inflection that changes.
Yeah.
And, like, because I mean, when she first meets the old lady, you know, she's still very much kind of like a dumb teenager, but like the way that she says things is got that like being there thing where people just like, I never really thought about it that way.
Just,
what an interesting way to look
a lot
at the world.
of the excess speech is cut out.
Yeah.
I think, in like how she speaks to people, she's
very direct.
Yeah, it's just like the information at hand, like chunks of it, you know. But no, the shift in her language through the film is a fun thing to watch too. Because by the end, she's super eloquent.
Yeah. So Paris, no money. She becomes a whore.
Yeah.
Beds, all kinds of strange bedfellows. A guy with a hook.
Her experience with that was like pretty interesting to see how she like took that, and she was like, the character was using it because she's so aloof. Like this character is so above like what's going on. She's just experiencing everything, gives no fuck about what anybody thinks. So she's like really experiencing and like registering, recording the sexual experience she has.
Yeah.
It's like a
Learning
science
from it.
experiment.
Yeah.
Just like she was bred to do by God, you know. So, yeah. That part is really fun about it. That it's because she's so like not committed to it. It's just a thing that she does. She can separate it. It's not anything.
Yeah.
I love the scene when she's got like some like French pastries in a bag, and she goes back to like Mark Ruffalo's character is like on a park bench. It's snowing. He looks terrible, and she's just like, you want some of this pastry? And I've got us a place to stay tonight. And he's like, so she's like, previously, you were the only person that had cocked me.
Yeah.
And now I've been cocked by another individual, and he was terrible. And so you have really made out well in this scenario. He's just like
stifling laughter.
He's like, you whored yourself. And she's like, and you're about to tell me why that is bad.
Yeah.
So good.
He's like, it's the worst thing a woman could do, which doesn't make any logical sense.
No.
It's just
I was going the old George Carlin was kind of my hero, and he had the bit about prostitution. He's like, I don't have any idea why prostitution is illegal, because selling is legal and fucking is legal. So why should it be illegal to sell something that's perfectly legal to give away?
Yeah. No, it's
pretty flawless.
I think it just
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
down to a jealousy thing. It's like, well, if no one's gonna pay for me, I'm gonna make sure no one pays for you.
Right.
That's pretty accurate. So she becomes a whore, takes on strange bedfellows, including a guy that has a hook.
Yeah.
Does he have two hooks?
Huh?
Does he have two hooks?
No, it's just a hook. It's a hook for a hand.
Oh.
Just the whole she gets to run the gamut of like the
Did you fuck that guy with the
experience
hook?
of
I
every
know you
kind of
did.
man.
Lesbian experience with one of the fellow whores in the brothel.
No, she gets to like she leaves this place in the story like just fully like that just rounds out her worldliness because she's literally experienced like every man by
And
this
she's
point.
studying at school and learning and observing surgeries and stuff and becoming a doctor.
I like how Mark Ruffalo's character kind of becomes like a bum in Paris and like but
Literally,
still is like obsessed with her and following around. It's like, did you fuck the guy with the hook? I knew you did.
I beat the tar out of that guy. It's such a fucking funny line.
Yeah. Now, dude, one of my funniest moments with him was when she like scorned him in bed,
Yeah.
and she like got out of bed immediately. The shot was just him like pouting, just a
Yeah.
single pout. Just like that shit cracked me.
His facial expressions throughout the
Dude,
entire
no,
film were
it's
so good.
good.
I think
Again,
it's his best performance.
the
ever.
head
definitely.
smash at the bar,
Like
the
there were two head
smash
smashes at the bar.
No, the second head smash. Oh, it's so good because
Wait.
the first one is so like crazy and just hilarious that you have no idea the second one is coming. It's so good.
By the way, it's funny. I noted this while we were watching the movie together. So Mark Ruffalo's character gets introduced, and like after the first scene, John Brown is like, "What a fucking creep," and then like fast forward 90 minutes later into the movie, and John Brown's like, "Poor guy."
That's
that is the beauty of Poor Things.
the other thing about the audiobook is the introduction, the author saying like the original title of the work was like Max McCandl's studies on Dr. Baxter's and I decided to narrow it down to the much more simple Poor Things.
Yeah.
And he says because the author refers to every single character in the story at one point or another as poor.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, and that was my takeaway the first time I saw the movie. It was just like, I feel like the title refers to literally every character in the movie.
Yeah. Everything, because like the animals too, the
Yeah. Just everything.
dog duck and
You kind of, there's a little bit of feel bad with everything. So Bella, now in Paris, having an illustrious career as a streetwalker, has taken on a beautiful lesbian lover, also a streetwalker, and has a good relationship with the madam of the house. Gets word that
passable relationship. The madam of the house is pretty also
a little weird.
predatory herself,
Yeah.
predatorial.
bite
Yeah.
earlobes and stuff.
For sure. Yeah, very much.
She's got sexy earlobes. What can you?
She's a
I thought you were
Tom
gonna go
Waits
for my
song
earlobes
character.
again.
That's what that chick
She is a Tom Waits
She's
song
a Tom Waits
Yeah.
song
No
character.
God, how did
I bet
Tom Waits
that
not get
actress
in
has
this movie?
been in a movie with Tom Waits.
Yeah. No, if you could have found a home, it would have been here.
So basically, she gets word that that God is ill and she needs to come home, and so she does. And she starts to pick up her life. God's definitely dying. We find that out.
Got
And
a big old tumor.
yeah, big old tumor, which tries to have
Amputated.
he tries to have Max removed, but then he realizes, it's spreading. I'm gonna die. It's
Right.
how to break it to the patient.
Just so matter of fact about it. It's like, well,
Yeah.
time to die.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so-
he even corrects Bella. He's like, I heard you were sick. He's like, no, I'm dying. It's very different.
So she comes home, and the wedding with Max is underway. In mid-ceremony, the husband of the woman that she used to be arrives right at the
Timing.
he does the whole hey, do we not do the
Objection.
Did we
Yeah.
not do the objection
Classic.
part of the ceremony anymore? Because I'm here to object. That's my wife. And so she just decides, yeah, I'm going to go with this guy. They are not, yet married. They haven't done the I do's. And she just fucking bails right in the middle of the wedding to go live it. This dude is obviously a fucking nightmare, right?
Yeah.
This guy is
Instantly talking about murdering people on the
Yeah.
battlefield.
Yeah, they're taking a carriage to the house, and he pulls out a gun right when they get there, and he's like, "The servants and me have not been getting along. I feel like there's a mutiny." The guy's just like, "Fuck, man! This is where
all
you're
of
taking me home to."
the butler is just smoking a cigarette, and the maid has a broken arm. It's like there's a war going on here. He's just waving a gun around at everybody. This
So-
character is in a movie full of evil and characters doing harm. This character is disgusting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, I love this the scene where she's like, am I a prisoner here? Are you trying to imprison me? You would not be the first." And he's like, "Let me put it to you clearly. If you try to leave, I will shoot you in the fucking head." And she goes, "In the front or in the back?" "In the back. To ensure that you were actually leaving and I was not being rash."
Yeah. Yeah.
Psycho.
No, it's another her how quickly she's let's do this, just still her character.
Yeah.
More experience, let's go.
She just needs to
Rounding
know.
out. Yeah, for
she'd
sure.
regret it if she didn't go.
Because at this
and
point
know.
she's discovered, and we skip past it. There is a good scene where she discovers who she is and what she is.
Yeah.
And how she
Yeah.
takes that.
And so basically she gets away from this guy. Not gonna be able to get into the details how, but she gets away from the guy. It's not all that complicated. And comes back and she's like, yeah, that was being there was like living somebody else's life.
Right.
You know, that wasn't
Yeah.
really my thing. You know,
I like to assume all of the servants just took over the mansion and just
Yeah.
lives in the
Yeah.
fucking party house now.
Right. So her and Max get married. And
Baxter dies.
Baxter
Yeah.
dies, and we basically get this end scene with them.
happy ending.
Yeah, them sitting in the backyard drinking some cocktails and some chairs, and we see the husband who has been turned into the husband that her original husband before she died the first time. The guy that was at war with his servants. He is a goat now.
Yeah.
He's got the brain of a goat.
He's got the brain of a goat. Yeah.
No, it's a pretty happy ending. Her lover from the brothel was there living with
Yep.
her and her new husband, who's perfectly happy. It's a really quaint,
Yeah.
nice ending.
That guy feels like kind of a pushover.
To
Her
this.
husband, she's gonna be able to take on as many lovers as she wants.
Yeah, he's got. She's got something to hold over his head for sure.
That dude will never object to anything. He just seems okay.
I think that character is just he understands the experience of her.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah,
character
he's-
he knew immediately because when he was promised to be wed to her. Like it was. So that's the thing about all the sexuality in the movie. Nothing ever creeped on this woman or girl. Like nothing ever crept on her until like, she was already awoken and decided her own shit.
Yeah.
And this dude was especially like, there's a line the first time.
He's like, I want to take advantage of you.
No, you're special. He understood that. I think the character was just like along for the ride.
Yeah, because he says, I want you to marry me and be my wife. She's like, let us touch each other's genital pieces.
Yeah, she's about 12 there. 10 years old, But no, I think that, maybe, but it was a nice happy ending for the ride that you had. Like, she experienced everything. Her character was a joy to just like to see, to watch this thing unfold.
Honestly, they pack so much into this movie. It is
like she was just
nonstop,
100% honest all the time and did everything.
It's almost like watching the movie. You kind of see her tuning in the character as the movie advances. It's a really cool experience.
Yeah, performances across the board are fantastic. Yeah, and Willem Dafoe's fucking makeup too.
And his fucking super subtle accent is like so perfect. And again, if you didn't know Willem Dafoe, I think you just assume he was Scottish.
His just like random one-liners of the torture he underwent as a child, and then fucking the husband's like Jesus Christ moments were just classic. There's like 3 or 4 of them in the movie every time. It's like hilarious.
And I know, John, you had a bit to say about because there, as far as the camera work in this movie, the cinematography, like they use like every angle. And,
my only thing was I felt
we get a little bit of black and white, a little bit of color.
I felt they overused the like
the fisheye lens,
like the periscope,
the convex lens, where it's just like fucking warps everything out in like a circle. I felt like that was a little bit overused.
Yeah, I want to say they used that shot like 7 or 8 times in the film.
Yeah,
the last time after having the conversation with you,
visually whimsical, but
after having the conversation with you about that, I watched it this last night, and I was trying to like see if there was some kind of a connection
like a
to the times that they use that. I'm still not sure.
Right.
Like maybe
it's a lot of the walking scenes, right?
It wasn't bad.
The people walking
it
from
wasn't bad.
one side of the screen to the other.
Maybe a handful of times.
So they use that where it's like more of the narrow periscope, but then they also use the one where it's the opposite of that, where it's like much more bubbled. And the entire screen seems like rounded.
Oh, I thought that's the fisheye lens.
You're talking about the rounded,
like.
Yeah.
So you're not talking about the one where it's just like it goes down to like a circle.
Well, that just felt like super silent film era inspired, like the zoom in on the point of interest.
Not that. I'm talking about the
the bubble.
Fisheye lens.
Okay, I see. That doesn't happen as often as the actual like tunnel. But I do like the fact that we're all over the map.
For sure.
We're getting like. I feel like he wanted to get every kind of shot that he could.
It was not bad by any means.
I also wanted to say
again, this thing's great. Like all I have to say about this movie, it's just a great experience.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say of some of the sexual stuff, especially some of the earlier scenes with the nudity, with Emma Stone, very very classily, artfully done. Like. I just have a real appreciation. Like there's definitely a way that you can like photograph sex and not have it be porn.
Well, some of them were that. Yeah. Like that scene where she's like masturbating was that, but there were other scenes like the first time that Mark Ruffalo fucked her. Like he fucked her like 5 different places in the apartment, and it was just fucking.
Yeah.
But it was
the one where.
It took time. Like that's the thing. It took time.
Sitting on a chair and she's on top of him, and he's like trying to get her nipple in his mouth, just like.
I love that scene. That seems so good.
That's why I would describe it as like basically pornographic, because it's not like a shot. Like it's like they're real like scenes of fucking.
I love
like 5 to 10 minute scenes of fucking. if the camera was over here, it would
Yeah.
have captured
You'd
if
see
it were
the
happening.
sock
Yeah,
that
I will
Mark
say
Ruffalo's
that
yeah.
her referring to the act of fornication as furious jumping
Furious
Yeah.
jumping.
will
Yes.
forever has forever changed my life and my marriage. I think.
Yeah. It's pretty hilarious.
Would you like to enjoy some furious jumping?
I
this
feel like that's
evening?
going to be a thing until the end of time. Now. We're just going to do that. So that's
Furious
fun.
jumping.
Um,
Shit tracks.
so let's put a bow on this. Any last thoughts on Poor Things?
It's hard to argue the artistic quality and just the quality of this film. Like it's a really great film.
Yeah.
For sure. It's a really great story. There's a shit ton of sex. Just be forewarned, if you don't want to see a shit ton of sex, then you're putting yourself at a loss for not having seen this film. Whatever, I get it, but this is a great film. That's my thought. It's a fantastic film.
Yeah, it just gets better every time I watch it. I got to see it twice in theaters.
Purely hilarious.
This is
really purely. And also, one thing I wanted to say on this movie too, about the character, is she is never sexual in nature. She is never seductive. She's never alluring.
Yeah.
She's never like playing. Like she's never doing that.
The way she walks or waddles is honestly the brilliance of the performance.
She
to
never.
me.
She never stops this awkward like fucking toddler waddle through the whole film, and she fucking is just like her interactions are brutally honest. There's never like anything other than what she wants and her assessment. So there's no seduction. There's no trickery.
Her like the clothes she wears never match.
Yeah.
And like her hair is like kind of way too long and unkempt and
Yeah.
like she looks clumsy.
All these
the
sexual
time.
elements of the character are pretty much gone. Other than she's very pretty. And that's pretty much what dudes in the movie zero in.
Yeah.
She herself,
pretty.
the character is not sexy.
But yeah, it gets. I mean, I
Which
just
is
pulled up
brilliant.
my ratings for my 3 viewings now. On the first viewing, I went from 4 stars. The second viewing, I went 4.5 stars. And this viewing, I went 5 stars.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I think it's a 5-star movie.
It's hard to argue.
It's
yeah.
pretty flawless.
You really can't.
the finale with like her husband. I think the first time I watched it, I was a bit thrown off. Like, what? We should be ending. What's this?
Right.
The second time, I was like, no, it's a very interesting. And then this time, I'm like, no, it's
It
very
closes it out.
necessary.
It's really
Yeah.
important for the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
sure.
like one more,
Yeah.
like
It's-
one
it's-
more experience.
It's the bow on it. It's like
Yeah.
that's her like true genesis. She becomes her at that moment.
Mhm.
Like, okay, whatever was there is now gone. Now
Yeah.
it's just Bella.
Yeah.
So I actually wrote this down, my final thoughts, and this is my writing is sloppy. So just so you know, if it sounds like I'm reading it, it's because I am. I wrote this. So this is kind of my final take on the movie. Fuck. This movie is equal parts visual and comedic masterpiece.
Yeah.
Performances from Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo are alive, unpredictable, and undeniably hilarious. And they are the defining performances of each of their careers. This is a movie about evolution of character, and I would say, if you've never seen it, it's basically Edward Scissorhands on ecstasy.
This is what Edward Scissorhands, only could have hoped or desired to be.
It's on
like.
ecstasy.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's man, so much better. I hated on that was one movie, man. I rewatched a couple years ago, and I just walked
As
away.
we start to do this podcast, we talk. I'm starting to think that. Do I just not like Tim Burton?
I like some of Tim Burton stuff.
Like, what Tim Burton do you like? Are you sure you like
I
it?
liked that movie. I disliked the characters in the movie. Like a lot of the characters in Edward Scissorhands are just terrible. Like the love interest in Edward Scissorhands, like literally just leaves him abandoned on this hill, and like the last scene is the fucking like granddaughter like, "You ever go see him? Oh no, I can't, bitch. He is a block away on a house that everyone has forgot. And you just like stop caring. He's still up there. Pay your fuck like."
We might have to. Maybe a triple feature we could do is we each pick a Tim Burton movie to watch.
I actually have a
discussion.
Tim Burton movie on my short list.
Yeah.
It's the one I most am in need of a rewatch of, and it's the one that I think has always been my favorite Tim Burton movie, and that's Ed Wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I very much.
I actually missed that one. I never got to watch that. No. I watched
Oh, really? That's right up
No,
your alley.
I watched it.
He's got a pretty big one coming out this year. Tim Burton.
But, yeah.
He's got Beetlejuice coming out.
Oh yeah. No, that's actually kind of cool. I hope that's good.
I'm excited about that.
All right. So yeah, this
So,
movie
yeah.
is fucking. It's fantastic.
This is a fucking movie. This is a fucking movie.
It is a fucking movie.
Fuck this fucking movie.
All right,
It's
so
fucking good.
Putting a bow
Yeah.
on Poor Things. I feel like we're going to talk about it at the end of the year when we get to the awards episode.
Yeah.
It's a lot of potential here for the awards episode. So,
Yeah.
but hey, I have some insight into some of the movies we're going to be doing this year, and there are some fucking bangers coming up. So
Major contenders.
they're going to be major contenders for award season. So, Reese, is it your pick this week?
Yeah.
So I give you the floor as you tell us why we should go to the theater, what we should be watching, and what we're going to watch in the next episode.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you would like to go to the theaters this weekend, highly recommend it. I don't know if I'll have a chance to, but I would really like to. We've got a couple Christian movies planned. We've got Unsung Hero and Sight.
Sounds terrible.
Sight is starring Greg Kinnear.
God damn. What the fuck happened to Greg Kinnear?
You went to church. Then we got a few duds hanging around. We've got If, The Strangers, Chapter 1,
Chapter 1.
and the fully endorsed John Brown classic, The Garfield movie.
Yeah, fully endorsed.
Bought a ticket.
Great opening score. Yeah.
Fall Guy is still in theaters. Still haven't seen it. Would like to, but
You should watch Fall Guy.
yeah, I want to. Planet of the Apes still in theaters. Furiosa still in theaters. Last week, the new releases were a movie. It looks like a straight to DVD movie from like 2005, but it stars Diane Keaton and Kathy Bates. So I don't know. It's called Summer Camp. If that sounds like something up your alley, look into it.
Sounds like a
Yeah.
movie that's been made a few times.
Yeah.
I would recommend. There's one called Indian Summer, which if you want that, kids went to camp together when they were kids, and now like reunion with said camp.
Yeah.
Indian Summer, a movie I highly recommend. Don't go to the theater and watch that. Go to the theater and watch something else. Then go home and watch Indian Summer.
Yeah. This sounds like that summer camp reunion, but it's Diane Keaton and Kathy Bates. I don't know. Another movie that came out last week that I'm actually interested in. I don't know how good it's going to be, but it sounds very intriguing. It's a Shudder produced movie called In a Violent Nature.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
It's like a shtick movie. It's a
I watched the trailer and there's
It's getting a theatrical release.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
it's in theaters
there's a
right
bunch
now.
of billing of it being like a super unique and like imaginative and interesting slasher flick, but the trailer doesn't make it look like anything other than
Interesting for
a
probably like
slasher
20
flick.
minutes, and then
Yeah,
it gets old
it's-
real fast.
I will watch it. I don't know. I guess it's because it's going to theater.
It'd be cool to see in theaters just
Yeah.
because of what it is, like an
Yes,
indie
yeah.
produced
You
horror
never
movie.
get to see that
but,
many in theaters.
for you, maybe you've got higher priorities. But it's
Yeah.
basically Halloween, but POV. And I don't know if the entire movie is actually POV. I don't think
Right.
it is, but it's like Halloween, but you're following Michael Myers the entire time, not the people trying to kill him.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, but that's not like deserving of any kind of like, oh my god, they did this. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
No.
yeah, you just shifted a character.
It's all going
over.
to come down to execution.
Yeah.
Yes, it
yeah.
will. No, I'd be curious to see it.
Then there is this week's the new releases are Bad Boys Ride or Die.
Ooh.
If you would like to see the fourth installment in the Bad Boys franchise.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And then
on that shit.
a new thriller, I believe, is directed by the daughter of M. Night Shyamalan.
Ooh.
Is called The Watchers. starring.
I thought that was directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Was that?
Says the director is Ishana Night Shyamalan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know
It
what's
looks
fucked up is
extremely
I
M
just,
Night Shyamalan.
I just saw
It is.
Shyamalan, and I actually have hope for this movie, knowing that it's not him.
Yeah.
Because I saw the trailer, and I'm like, you know what? They're kind of getting me. Like, this looks intriguing.
Well,
Like,
that's
this
every
really looks
trailer for
intriguing.
every Shyamalan thing,
Yeah.
though. Like, the
Hey,
trailer's like,
no.
oh, interesting.
I saw the
It
trailer
could
for Lady
either
in the
be
Water.
bad knockoff shit, or it could be really imaginative with a bit of his flair. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a try if it gets good reviews. It's
Molly and I actually had we saw that trailer, and we had an open discussion about M. Night Shyamalan. And I'm like,
I liked Old. I actually thought Old was all right. I think that was
that
his
one.
best movie since.
The series Servant, and it was just like, that's like the only thing I've seen from him where like he didn't trip over himself, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah, he tends to.
yeah, and it's like, and I started thinking about why, and it's just like, because I'm like, this is like 3 seasons, you know, like 30 episodes or some
Right.
shit, and the whole time I'm just watching him like, man, it's like he's got a good thing going. How is he gonna fuck it up in the end?
yeah.
And I kept asking myself from episode 4, I was thinking, how is he gonna fuck this up? And the thing is, I think he just had 30 episodes to realize, like, you know what, I'm not gonna do that this time. And so it's just like, oh, so it just has like a normal ending, like a normal thing.
Right.
Well, that's cool. Good job for not fucking this up.
But yeah, so that's everything in theaters. Maybe somebody will see Watchers and give us a insight on whether to give it a chance or not.
I didn't even know it was a different Shyamalan. I just
Yeah.
see the spooky writing and think, oh, Shyamalan.
Produced by M. Night.
Yeah, but there's gonna be
Directed
some
by a
zany
Nepo
twist
baby.
at the end.
Okay. And then my pick. So I was talking to John about this before. I'm leaning towards another 3-hour Korean drama.
Okay.
You okay with that?
Yeah, we both like bulk, not at all. Like, well, yeah,
Of course. Why not?
you know it's going to be a good film.
I
so.
love that.
I mean, 3 hour. It's 2 hour. Oh, it's only 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
It's not
it's great.
terrible. So I'm wanting to go. Because it's June. I was wanting to do a queer film, and this is billed often as like the Portrait of a Lady on Fire set in Korea. Not exactly, but that
Right.
similar kind of vibe. It's called The Handmaiden. This is directed by Park Chan-wook, the director of Old Boy,
Okay.
and Thirst and Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and all those things. So this is
Great films.
2016, kind of a
The Handmaiden?
The Handmaiden, yeah, queer thriller of some sort. I've heard nothing but great things, and Park Chan-wook is a fantastic director.
I mean,
So
yeah. Old Boy is absolutely irrefutably one of my favorite films. I mean, just,
I just love Korean films right now.
Yeah.
I'm like digging everything I see.
yeah.
It's like, all right, yeah, another
Show me-
banger.
yeah.
and
Which, by the way, it's a spoiler alert. I know it's a long way until December, but right now, because we're gonna do the award season and
Right.
best pick, dude, The Wailing. The Wailing is still like haunting me. Like
Yeah. It's good.
that was a
man.
fucking exceptional pick, Reese.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
And like the fact that you just picked it blind and none of us had seen it, and it was
I have also not seen this
yeah,
one.
yeah.
So.
So yeah,
great.
I get it, man. Like,
yeah.
hey, it worked last time. Why not try
I will
again?
watch every one of this dude's films.
I also don't want to build it up too much, but the Letterbox average is 4.5 out of 5.
Holy fuck, that's a high average. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
So yeah, and this is
I don't like the fact that you called it like Portrait of a Lady on Fire, the Korean like
this
that
is
movie was
it
was very
that's just a polite way of saying there's a lesbian
Okay.
tension in this movie, but
I
this
don't-
movie
I
is
don't
much
think I
more of a
could, like-
thriller.
I don't think I could fully appreciate Portrait of a Lady on Fire as a non-lesbian.
Yeah,
That was the,
the
takeaway.
yearning.
Huh?
It's the yearning.
Yeah.
I don't even remember if they actually have sex in that movie. It's just the desire.
Yeah, there's a little bit of but it's like I don't know. It's like they're doing art, so it's supposed to be artistic, but it's not really that artistic. I don't know. I thought it was a little overrated. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just don't think it was a great movie, and it was sold to me as a great movie, and everything I've ever read about it is that it's a great movie, and that's not the movie that I watched. I saw a good movie that I think has been heightened by the fact that it's, like about a subject that maybe is not as discovered, and so they're elevating it. That's kind of how I thought.
It's possible.
The lesbians are elevating the fucking movie because they don't have enough movies to like that are already up there.
Well, I think this movie will be continuing the hypersexual themes of Poor Things, because I've heard this movie has some pretty intense sex scenes. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. All right.
See where you guys are taking.
We're watching this to continue our ranking of the best cunnilingus scenes.
You're setting it up for John to pick Debbie Does Dallas.
No, lesbians, John. Lesbians. And it's streaming on Amazon Prime. So give it a watch.
Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Hell yeah.
That was the episode.
That is how the end happens. We just we talk about things for 2 hours, and then John says, well, thanks for tuning in. And then we just get cut off mid-conversation.